across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Very, very good afternoon. Just gone 4 o'clock. We haven't got a music bed yet. That'll be next week. Thank you very much indeed to Ian Collins. He is returning tomorrow. The housewife's choice, the man who puts, well, all the joy into what's going on. Do you know what's really interesting? I've done a Kevin O'Sullivan. Can you just bear with me a second? I've done a Kev. I didn't have my wire in. There we go. Welcome along. Thank you very much indeed for making it Talk, the home of free speech, of course, and common sense. I'm going to tell you, today is going to be like Monday and Tuesday. There seem to be pennies from heaven whenever you're talking about this government. I was listening to Mike this morning on Breakfast on Morning Glory, of course, and the outrage that you as an audience feel about some of the stories that are coming out are shared, trust me, by us here. Let's talk migration. Let me ask you this, like, in a situation where millions of hard-working Brits are struggling to get a GP appointment, where you can't see a doctor, you can't see a dentist, you'll be waiting weeks, months or whatever. Can you explain to me how it's fair that asylum seekers, right, not only get to the front of the queue before anybody else, but it transpires overnight that thousands, hundreds of thousands of pounds is spent transporting migrants, illegal migrants in hotels from, say, I don't know, Kent to Scotland, just because you can get a doctor's appointment there or you want to go and visit somebody. And this has only now come to light. It is an unbelievable story. This is The Sun today. Thousands of migrants staying in hotels across the UK are being chauffeured to doctors' surgeries even when the NHS is on its knees. Let me be crystal clear. This isn't turning our back, right, on people in need. This is having the mickey taken by people who have come to this country who shouldn't be here, who are staying in hotels at our expense and are now being ferried by private vehicle hundreds of miles to beat the queues that we're bloody well standing in. 0344 499 1000 this morning on Morning Glory at 6:15. Mike took this voice call. Just pin back your logos and listen to this.
Morning, Mike. Steve from Home Bay. Our taxi driver who does our airport runs took a single migrant from Folkestone to Scotland, 800 quid in a luxury Mercedes. It's a joke.
Sorry. Could you just play, because I'm obviously going to implode. Could you play that again? Could you play that again, please?
Morning, Mike. Steve from Home Bay. Our taxi driver who does our airport runs took a single migrant from Folkestone to Scotland, 800 quid in a luxury Mercedes. It's a joke.
So all the people who think that I rant and they think I'm outrageous, I'm going to calm my voice down and ask you this question. £800 paid for by the British taxpayer to take a migrant who's due to leave this country in an E-Class Mercedes, a luxury chauffeured vehicle, at a cost of £800 so that he or she, I guess it's a he, doesn't have to wait in a queue that the very people who are paying for the tax to pay the fare are having to stand in. I'd love your thoughts. Is it me or is the world going mad? 0344 499 1000. Faith is taking your calls as ever. We'll do voice notes via Jody. Same number, 0344 499 1000. And as ever, we'd love to get your text, 87222. Just to make you understand that it can get worse, as if that wasn't enough, another jaw-dropping foreign criminal story. They're basically being flown out of the UK. When we eventually, right, it's good. When we eventually say it's time to go, we're going to fly you out of the country, OK? Guess what happens? When they get on board, they get given a credit card, honestly, I'm going to bloody well implode, with £2,000 of your hard-earned taxpayers' cash on it. So we're getting you out of our country and we're giving you £2,000. And when you stay here, we're getting you a chauffeur-driven Mercedes to go to the doctors. Play the clip before I implode.
Capture compliant migrants being given bank cards preloaded with money, up to £2,000 each, to encourage and aid their resettlement in Romania.
And for the people, all the lefties who are about to go, you're horrible, Kyle, even bringing this up. You see that footage and you hear that footage. That was a bunch of serious criminal offenders being returned to Romania. These, ladies and gentlemen, were murderers, thieves and sexual abusers. No, it wasn't made up. That's fact. That is a fact. And we're giving these people, criminals who we're deporting, £2,000, right, So we're paying for the flight, we're paying for the staff to sit with them and the £2,000 so that they can settle back into their own country. Do I need to say any more? As Graham Paxes, is the Home Office now sponsored by Uber? 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. I'm not even interested about waving the flag with Starmer. I'm so wound up by this story. I'm going to say a very good afternoon to a woman who will bring a semblance of calm, maturity, dignity and humility. No, she wasn't available. Poppy Coburn, assistant comment editor at the Daily Telegraph. Good afternoon. How are you?
Fantastic introduction as always. Thank you.
I was sitting thinking that the last time we saw each other at the Reform dinner, you were having a bit of a meltdown about a taxi. Now, of course, you were going to have to go 43 miles to see your better half in a cab. You were hacked off about it. Imagine if you'd been a migrant, Poppy Coburn, you'd have got that free and a luxury vehicle. This is ludicrous, though, isn't it? I mean,
it would have been a much nicer car than my Bolt ride share that I had to ride around Birmingham. I mean, the funniest thing about this story, I think you can say there's no one's benefiting from the migrant crisis in the UK unless you are making flags. I think if you're making flags, you're in a food business, and if you're driving taxis, because these seem to be the people who are, you know, inadvertently benefiting from it.
I couldn't agree.
Utterly outrageous.
It is, and I think I'm almost getting hacked off with myself, because I do actually genuinely come here every day and not want to be so exasperated by what, to me, is so ridiculous, some of these decisions, so lacking in common sense, and they wonder why there is a seminal change across the United Kingdom. You're saying to British taxpayers, apart from thank you for working, we're putting it at the back of the queue, and then we're going to kick you further in the head because we're going to say we're actually going to luxuriously drive these people who shouldn't be here so that we, and I know what this is about, we make sure that they're not treated badly. And I repeat, and a lot of people hate me for saying this on the left, what about the people in this country? Why don't we treat them better? Or is that a terrible thing to say, Poppy?
Well, isn't the whole point as well? I mean, people didn't want these people to come here in the first place, right? It's bad enough that they're here in the first place. A lot of the people who came in small boats never should have been able to settle. You know, they shouldn't have been allowed to cross the channel. But now they're here. Not only did you not want them here, they're going to have a better quality of life than you. Yeah. I mean, you know, I go to my local NHS GP. The idea that I would get a cab, if I could even get an appointment, you know, because they completely bypass the whole process of having to call up at 8 a.m. in the morning, you're 123rd person in the queue, try back again tomorrow morning. You know, that's not a problem for these people. And it's the level of hypocrisy that makes people across the country so angry, that means that immigration is the #1 polling issue now, because it's so unbelievably unfair. I mean, you could not make it up.
And when you say that, and with the passion that I have about it as well, you know, I mean, you add to that the story of, you know, foreign criminals flown out of Britain to Romania with £2,000 on a credit card. These are convicted criminals who are being deported. I would love one of the lefties that loathe everything that I say to look me in the face and say, the reason that we're doing this is a perfectly good, moral, common sense reason. There can't be. It can't make sense to put your own population, that's going to be sounding wrong, but what I mean by that is the very people who are paying for the tax that sustain this stuff, you're going to have them at the back of the queue. I just think, what do they expect to happen? Do they expect the British people to spend the next 20 years going, yeah, it's absolutely fine. I'm really struggling. I can't pay my bills. I haven't been out in a month of Sundays. I don't care about not seeing a doctor. I want these people who shouldn't be here to be treated better than me. Ludicrous.
Well, you know, obviously we agree on this, Jeremy, but you have people in your show who are on the left, who do have different views on immigration. But I can guarantee you will not get a straight answer out of any of them explaining why this is the best situation to be in. At best, they'll say, oh, you're racist, you're mean, and try and shut down the conversation. Because there is no way of justifying spending £600 on a taxi to a GP appointment. There is no way of justifying giving a rapist £2,000 when you're deporting him from your country. You know, by the way, a rapist who could come back at any moment across the channel, we wouldn't know.
Let's not try and stop the rapist coming back. Let's sort of tick his box of getting him out of here and give him £2,000 to make it easier, and then you have
monopoly. You know, it's like pass go. It's ridiculous.
But then you have that whole argument that are you actually treating the very people who commit these crimes better than the victims against which the crime has been perpetrated?
Well, I think that's true. I was reading the transcript of the Epping case, obviously the man who sexually assaulted the girl in Epping. She was saying, I can't wear a skirt now in my hometown. I'm too afraid.
Can I ask you, I'm really pleased you brought this up, because I said something yesterday and I get a stonewall silence. I've worked for many years with really strong women who have advocated, quite rightly, women's rights, equality for women. And yet, when the girl on Dorset Beach in Bournemouth gets attacked and the guy goes, well, he's got 12 months. When the girl in Epping who's 14 is sexually attacked by a man who's been here 5 days, who says to the police, Poppy, right, I didn't know that wasn't allowed, which tells you everything about why these people shouldn't be here. Why do those same women who jumped up and down quite rightly about Me Too, who jumped up quite rightly about feminism and equality, why do I not hear a bloody word from them, Poppy? Because I don't.
Well, it's not even that you don't hear a word from them. You will hear from them. They'll say, stop talking about it. You know, there was a petition that was signed recently by all these female celebrities, these virtue signalling women, including Zara Sultana, formerly of the Labour Party, saying...
Well, the fruit and nuts party, that one.
Yeah, indeed. There is no link between immigration and women's safety. Well, tell that to all of the women who've been sexually assaulted by asylum seekers in the last couple of years. Their cases don't matter then, do they? We're not allowed to talk about them because it might upset community relations. I mean, it is hypocrisy of the highest order. These are people who think you should go to jail if you wolf whistle someone, you know, and yet when someone actually rapes a child, all of a sudden it's not a problem anymore. It's disgusting.
It is beyond disgusting, and you know, I'm just grateful that we have, you know, a platform, be it your paper, The Sun, this, to be able to talk about this. This isn't, you know, I say to people every day, I would love to come on here and not be able to pick holes in stuff that is ludicrous, farcical, hypocritical, and I think is almost sort of anti the very community and culture that we've built. However, all is not yet lost, because our Prime Minister... Our Prime Minister has stated that he's going to reclaim the flag from the far right. Now, I will say this, because I think it's important, that it's a very easy argument for Starmer and those on the left who are frightened. I mean, did you see Ed Davey yesterday saying that if you vote for Nigel Farage, kids in schools, they'll have guns? And I mean, he's completely lost. They're terrified, aren't they? They're so terrified, the establishment, of what Nigel Farage might do. But... Starmer has always, I think, found it easy to say that anybody that waves the Union Jack or the St George's flag is far right. And I get that in instances that has been used, but I absolutely will always sit here and say, why the hell can we not be proud of our flag? Why can we not be? I mean, I read stories that, you know, when I see the Union Jack flown, it makes me feel, you know, it intimidates me a bit because, you know, I come from a different country and again, are we the laughing stock or what? Why can't we be proud of our flag, Poppy?
Well, the thing is, if they really were so comfortable about the flag, as they like to pretend they do, like Yvette Cooper saying, what is it, she sleeps in Union Jack bed sheets like an absolute lunatic. If they were really comfortable with the flag and they had no problem with it, they wouldn't talk about it so much. The whole reason this story is a story in the first place is because they cannot help themselves. They see the flag of our country and you can see it makes them uncomfortable. They're uncomfortable to look at our country's flag. And that is why...
Why are they uncomfortable to look? Why are they uncomfortable to look at the flag of a country? This is I'm going to sound like your dad now. This is the bloody country they wanted to come to. If we're so awful, why don't you all sod off and go somewhere else? That's what I don't get.
Well, I can say, you know, you can even do a consistent point. Oh, I don't like waving a flag. But they love to do it for the Palestine flag. Why is it? They're happy to raise the Palestinian flag. They're happy to wave the LGBT flag. You know, why can we not raise the flag of the country that we were all born and grew up in? You know, if it makes you feel uncomfortable. I mean, that sounds so basic, but there are other countries in the world you can live in.
You think Scotland, you think Wales, you think Ireland. Everybody is able and prepared and willing and proud to wave their flag. But apparently we've turned into apologists, and that's wrong. And I do, again, bring it back to hard-working, normal Brits do not like what's happening with immigration. They don't like being put at the back of the queue, and they want to be proud of their flag. And I don't think it works if you go, do you know, everybody who flies a flag's far right, they belong with Tommy Robinson. That's ridiculous. There are many, 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 many millions of people in this country who are proud of their flag. And I think this argument, and there again, Starmer, just this sort of, you know, I'll salute Hamas on Sunday, and on Monday I'll send wishes to, you know, Rosh Hashanah to the Jewish community because you try and be all things to all people. Now you're attempting to reclaim the flag. You know, Palestine was about securing the Muslim vote because you're terrified. Your wife probably told you about Rosh Hashanah because she's a Jewish woman. I've no idea. Today we're reclaiming the flag. He doesn't really have any identity, does he? None at all. No,
for people who are actually patriotic, they just don't think about it that much. They'll see a flag, maybe they'll wave it outside of the house, they're proud of it, they're proud of the country, that's it. It's these people who are actually uncomfortable and have to lie they have to lie to themselves and they have to lie to the country and pretend they're comfortable with it when we can all tell they're not. Keir Starmer does not drink his tea out of a Union Jack mug. Sorry, I'm not an idiot. I do not believe this. I do not believe that Yvette Cooper sleeps in a Union Jack bedsheet. You know, it's a load of rubbish.
I bet you won't know. I bet you can't answer this. I've just walked from my dressing room past somebody else's dressing room downstairs, and they've got a Union Jack. When you have makeup put on, you have like a gown, and he's now got a Union Jack gown. Do you know who that is? Piers Morgan's got a Union Jack gown. Oh, yes, he's got a Union Jack gown. I'm going to get one as well. I don't see why it's such a big...
Has he got a crown?
What? Yeah, he probably has got
a crown as well.
I'll paint it and put it on his head. Now, listen, this is interesting. There was a Labour council leader, I don't know, but is this a true story? A Labour council leader said the St George's flag campaigners are nonces. Did you read that today, that story?
Yes, I did. Unfortunately, I did.
Oh, let me play the clip. This is Jeremy Newmark. Good God. Flag campaigners are nonsense. Yeah, Jezza, you go for it. Have a listen, have a watch.
Also a bit disappointed that my question was diverted from the portfolio holder, but anyway, you've spoken about extremists. Do you accept that by constantly linking our national flag to extremism, as you did in the question, or the answer to the question, as well as many Labour MPs at the moment, that you run the risk of letting extremists define it instead of reclaiming it for the mainstream?
Thank you, Councillor Rosehill. Councillor Newmark, please.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Rosehill, and I'm sorry, but I'm not playing. I won't be taking lectures on our national flag and extremism from a councillor that has the audacity to speak in almost glowing terms in his question to this council about Operation Raise the Colours. Operation Raise the Colours. An organised and orchestrated attempt by a bunch of criminals, extremists, nonces, to hijack our national flag.
Honestly, I don't know how we have got, Poppy Coburn, to where we have got, but I do want to ask you this. Did you, like I watched Donald Trump addressing the United Nations yesterday, sort of half open-mouthed? We'll put aside the Sharia law comments, a couple of inaccuracies, but by God, it was good telly, wasn't it?
I just thought you could really tell he started off doing The Apprentice, you know, that the opening lines of you haven't got the teleprompter, you haven't got the elevator.
Do you know about the elevator story? Have you heard this story? Apparently they've discovered that staff were openly talking about stopping it to make him fall over. The FBI are now investigating attacking the president on the elevator. He doesn't care though. He saved most of his ire for almost everybody that was there, specifically Sadiq Khan. What did you make of that?
I thought it was hysterical. I mean, look, you know, again, there's some inaccuracies. This is Donald Trump. He's a man not known for his commitment to the truth. Even I can say that, and I'm quite fond of him myself. But he's not wrong when he points out that the international image of London is not what the Mayor of London would want you to think it is. You know, when I speak to my American friends, they ask me questions like, you know, is it true that there are machete attacks in the streets of London? Well, there was one on my road yesterday. I saw a video of it on X. So, yes, there are. It is true that London's a bit, you know, stabby, a bit dirty, not very pleasant, has an extremism problem. Sadiq Khan may not like that, but, you know, you shouldn't have had a big blimp of a baby when Donald Trump came for his first state visit. Maybe he's taken against you, but, you know, you brought it on yourself. Well,
Sadiq hasn't... Sir Sadiq, I'm never calling him that. He hasn't responded too well to what Donald Trump said. Let's play... This is Sadiq Khan this morning, kicking back at Donald.
What it is about this Muslim mayor who leads a liberal, multicultural, progressive, successful city that means I appear to be living rent-free inside Donald Trump's head. President Trump has shown he is racist, he is sexist, he is misogynistic, and he's Islamophobic.
They don't love each other very much, those two. I'm not a Sadiq Khan fan, sorry. I think you're absolutely right, Poppy, to be fair. I mean, much as he seems to crave diversity and exclusivity and whatever else it all means, because I don't know, you're right, people are being stabbed on the streets, kids are running amok. If you get your house burgled or your shop ransacked, the police aren't there. That's what I think your mayor should be doing, but we seem to have this malaise across the country. Before we let you go, the other big news story of the day, which is wonderful, because and Mike was saying this earlier, which is true. Another Labour blunder. Do you know Morgan... I don't know why we do this. Morgan McSweeney is the Chief of Staff, Labour's Chief of Staff. Morgan McSweeney. Anyway, Morgan has admitted, well, he hasn't admitted yet, there seems to be an admin error over £700,000 in hidden donations. And I only have this to say about Morgan McSweeney. I do think he'll be gone by the weekend, because this afternoon Keir Starmer has announced he's got full confidence in Morgan McSweeney, the man who put him in number 10. And to be fair, he said that about Angie on a Wednesday, in which she was gone by Saturday. He said that about Mandelson. He said everything. Mandelson on a Wednesday, he was gone. So I think Morgan McSweeney. But isn't it interesting? You know, Chief of Staff, 700 grand, hidden donations. This is going to be proper politics. You Tory scumbags, you've had your noses in the trough for too long. This is going to be grown-up politics. It's about growth. No growth. This is about working people. We don't know any working people in wherever they live. But where is it? Where was the posh part? Hackney or whatever. Islington. Morgan McSweeney. 700 grand, Poppy. They're not going to let him off the hook on this, are they? He's next.
You've just managed to make Morgan McSweeney sound like a pirate.
Morgan McSweeney.
Walking the plank.
Yeah,
walking the plank by the end of the week. You know, he's not long for this world. I mean, yeah, it's the hypocrisy. It's so funny. From the very beginning of this government, it's been holier than I. Aren't the Tories scum? Aren't they awful? You know, they've all, as you say, they're all getting rich off the country. And lo and behold, they're also rigging things behind the scenes. They've got a dodgy dossier of emails. You know, it's just one sleaze scandal after the other. But unfortunately, you know, I think you can afford to lose Mandelson. You can afford to lose Angela. I don't think Starmer can afford to lose Morgan McSweeney, because he really is the brains behind that operation. I think we know pretty clearly that there is nothing behind Keir Starmer. He is an empty shell of a man. And if he loses his puppeteer, then that's it for him. And you can say hello to Prime Minister Andy Burnham, which I think is going to be somehow even worse in our current situation.
I feel that you are now with me after 30 years of broadcasting at a moment where it is possible to see Jeremy Kyle explode, literally as a human being, on national television and radio, because I have just been handed a piece of paper. Are you joking me here, Jodie? Is this true? Poppy, I'm going to give you first dibs. Pin back your lug-holes, peeps. An asylum seeker, this is breaking news from your newspaper. An asylum seeker has had his sentencing hearing postponed after leaving court this afternoon to get fish and chips. Shikhar Jamal, 24, who is being housed at a migrant hotel, was due to be sentenced for threatening another man with a snooker cue in Bournemouth, Dorset. An interpreter, that cost a few quid, who speaks Kurdish Sorani, the language spoken in Iraq or Kurdistan, was booked for the hearing. But when his case was called before magistrates, pool magistrates, at 12:30 this afternoon, Jamal was nowhere to be found. His defence lawyer sent out a search party. There was no sign of him in the public lobby or anywhere. 15 minutes later, the defendant was spotted sitting on a bench outside, looking out to sea, eating fish and chips. They were apparently bought from the nearby Parkway Fish Bar. By the time he re-entered the building, another case had been called and the magistrate had left for his own lunch. A backlog meant the schedule's full and he now can't go back to court for another month and he'll stay in a hotel. I honestly, seriously, I can't do this anymore.
No, Jeremy, what you need to understand is he's eating fish and chips. That means he's integrating. Okay, we should all be grateful for this. He's getting into English culture. He's like he has fish and chips.
So sorry, I'm going to court, but I'm not going to turn up. I'm going to sit outside the court having fish and chips. Then I'm going to make sure that I don't actually get to court, and then I'm going to go back to my 4-star hotel and probably get a car that'll take me to some bloody doctor's appointment in Scotland, and then when they do deport me, they'll give me £2,000 to spend. I can't do it anymore. Poppy, I can't. I'm having a breakdown. I can't do it. It's just madness, man. Thank you.
Some people have all the luck.
We love having you on. Thank you so much. We love you. We love you. Poppy Coburn, assistant commentator of the Daily Telegraph there. 4:26. I'm sorry I'm not going to court. I'm not actually going to do the rest of the show. I'm going to have some fish and chips and sit outside. Back in 3. Go.
not forget, this is a government that came in saying that they were going to raise the bar on public service. They were going to be a government of service. They were going to put country first, party second. They were not going to have sleaze. They were not going to have anything dishonest. They were going to be transparent. All of the things that they said they were going to be. We didn't ask them to say all those things. They volunteered them, and now they have been proven to be complete liars, shysters, crooks, and scumbags. There you go. There's a soundbite for the morning.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 4:30. We're live across the UK. Talk is on the home of free speech and common sense. Thank you very much indeed for tuning in to Drive. 0344 499 1000. Want to do a really quick call. Busy day. Paul's in Lincolnshire. Hello, Paul. Couple of minutes on Talk Drive. What you got, my friend?
I just want to talk about reform. I mean, I'm a reform supporter and member, but I want to talk about what Farage was saying the other day about mass deportations. I think obviously that's what I'd like to see happen, but I can see that it's fraught with difficulties. Now, I think that the best option would be to use British sovereign territory, namely the Falkland Islands. Now, I know they're a long way away, but they're half the size of Wales, and they've got a population of 3,500 people. I think that we should send people that are going to be deported over there until their asylum cases are heard, and then if they're unsuccessful, then obviously they can be shipped from the Falkland Islands to wherever they need to go.
I don't disagree. I said this yesterday. Can we change the thing at the front? It's not about migrant cab for you. If we put the number up or something, please. Thanks. I said this yesterday, right? I'm not against anything that works, right, pal? But what does my head in, Paul, is that in 2025, this country cannot either come up with a system that processes them. I don't see why we have to send people to other countries to be processed or to be sent. I'm all for detention centres. I build one on Orkney or somewhere like that. No disrespect to the Scottish. But I wouldn't let them... I've said it before. I'd have a bloody great tanker in the Channel. They wouldn't be allowed to land. They'd be put there. There would be a crack team of people who would process migrants, and certainly and absolutely the ones that were legal and could come in would be treated with respect and decency. The others would be put in a detention centre that's not a hotel, isn't particularly nice, because trust me, that message would get back home and people would stop coming. The biggest deterrent is to stop making Great Britain such an easy pull, isn't it?
Well, exactly right. I mean, to stop paying them benefits would be the,
or get them an E-class Mercedes to the doctors. That's just great, isn't it?
Free phones and trips to Disney World, etc., etc. So, we do need to make it a lot more difficult for people to come over here and live. But I still feel it worries me that if we try and deport people from this country, you're going to have riots on the streets, really, with all the lefties opposing it.
You touched upon something very quickly. A lot of people on the left will say that if we talk about the issues of immigration and the stories that we highlight every day and seem so popular, we're stoking it. No, we're not. But there has to be an acknowledgement that this cannot continue. And this mad hypocrisy about, people's human rights. What about the human rights of the British people and the people that have worked hard all their lives? And I think that's really, really important. Really appreciate your call, Paul. 0344 499 1000. We'll say a very good afternoon. Top man, what can I say? Jack Elsom, political editor of The Sun. How ordaining us with your presence on a Wednesday. How are you, dear?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks. Although I did hear a pretty scurrilous rumour the other day. We're talking about people getting migrants getting taxis to GP appointments, and I can one up that because I did hear that one Jeremy Kyle took the London Underground public transport for the first time in years, and I just wanted to check that you were all right and that you survived the whole affair. And
I mean,
you get
certainly it was an attempt to meet the people, press the flag. But I must say, as I came into work this morning and discovered that as an illegal migrant you can get a taxi up to 600 or 800 quid to anywhere in the United Kingdom just to go and visit your doctor, that you don't have to queue up like the rest of us, I was pretty hacked off. No, Mike took me on the London Underground. It was such fun. It's very dirty, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I get it every single day. But I'm glad that you're sort of now mixing with the mere mortals such as ourselves. But
following on from those newspaper reports last week that Harry Cole instigated,
yes,
I'm having to get out and meet people.
Well, you're going to be knocking on doors before long. Putting getting in the winter.
I'll be relying on you
putting
to
leaflets
write,
through door
and I'll
knocks.
be relying on you, Elsom, to write nice stuff. Right, let's get to it. You like me. Listen, the Sun has been on the trail of this migrant hypocrisy for so long. 800 quid. Have you heard the call from Mike's the voice note on Mike's show this morning? Have you heard this? It's just a 10. No. Listen to Mike was talking about this, and this is at 6:15 this morning on Morning Glory. Have a listen.
Morning, Mike. Steve from Herne Bay. Our taxi driver who does our airport runs took a single migrant from Folkestone to Scotland, 800 quid in a luxury Mercedes. It's a joke.
It is a joke, isn't it, Jack? And normal, hard-working people just feel, massively, massively deflated by such hypocrisy.
I think this is a real problem with the civil service as well, because I know we like to absolutely bash ministers over the head about the illegal migration crisis, and quite rightly so. But this is something which has been going on with successive governments, and it would have been the procurement system in the Home Office or local councils which basically just says, you know what, actually, rather than trying to get the cheapest form of transport whatsoever, which would be probably a bus like most people take, actually, what we're going to do is put taxis on for them because that's the most efficient way of doing it. And it means that they're safe, they're not in the community, whatever. And no one actually stops to think, because the civil service is so big that ministers can't be across the entire thing. No one actually managed to catch all this stuff. And so this happens more than people probably realize, and when it comes to the fore, it is just mind-boggling to most people, absolutely infuriating, because people are seeing their pockets being squeezed. People can't afford to get taxis everywhere. Most people either walk or get public transport or drive in their cars. And so the fact that migrants who come over here skip the queue, essentially break into our country, get a lot of stuff handed to them, but now getting free taxi rides to their taxpayer-funded GP appointments, people will find just absolutely extraordinary.
And you're right, it's the optics, and it's the fact that nobody has the intelligence to go, do you not think that looks really hard against a population that are taxed to the hilt, that don't have many savings, that are struggling, and you talk like that. The other big story today, of course, my friend, is that when you just think it couldn't get worse, also news out today that, we tried to deport 42, I think it was, Romanians. These are killers, murderers, rapists, and we put them on a plane surrounded by people, we paid for the seat. And then video footage, Jack Elsom, love your response at the Sun. £2,000 on a topped-up credit card to make sure that when they do get back to Romania, they've got a good start. And, by the way, they can come back again. How stupid do we look, my friends? Seriously. How stupid do we look? Nationally, internationally, in whatever... Oh, he's gone upside down, Jack Elsom. He's having a bit of a problem. That's all right, mate.
I had a call. I just had to... Sorry, I had to just decline a call, and so it made the screen all weird, but I'm back with you.
Don't worry. This story about the Romanians, serious offenders, killers, thieves, sexual abusers, being returned to Romania with £2,000 on a credit card. Again, the optics, Jack.
We've been doing this for a long time, and what the government always says is that stuffing someone's pockets with £2,000 is cheaper than keeping them in a prison cell or in some form of government-funded accommodation. But the fact that this is either the binary choice, either we keep them in a prison cell, which costs tens of thousands of pounds every year, or we send them away with £2,000 so that they go without kicking up a fuss. Most people will go, why can't we just forcibly deport people in this country who commit heinous crimes? Yes. Why should it be the fact that we are trying to encourage them to go on their merry way, stuffed with £2,000 in their pocket.
What does it say about the crime they've committed?
It just thinks we're doing...
You're right.
Exactly.
It's almost like you're saying to the perpetrator, well, we want rid of you, so there's £2,000. Thank you very much indeed. No, sorry. You go back to the old days and you see people shackled and stuff. You've raped somebody or murdered somebody. Get out of my country, right? Don't set foot in this country again, and I'm giving you absolutely jack. Because my concern, by the way, I'd rather be giving that £2,000 to the victim. That's what I think.
And it does seem that the whole issue of sovereignty just seems totally shot to pieces in this country at the moment, because the voters know what they want. The government, I think, to its credit, knows what it wants, but they just seem totally helpless to do anything about it. And that's why, as I've been saying this for a while on this show, you've been saying it as well, the government has to get properly radical now, I think, with the legal system in this country, a massive overhaul, because it is clearly not working. And when you have a system in which people are voluntarily being paid a lot of money to incentivize them to leave, most people will go, why on earth can't we just kick them out by ourselves? And it's the fact that the government wants to do this, but doesn't feel it's able to because of a legal system which prohibits it, which just makes the whole farce of a system.
But do you think this... I mean, this is an argument that we could have forever. Do you really think this government is radical? I don't think this Prime Minister is proactive at all. I'm not even sure what his agenda is. Do they want to do something about legal system? I'm not just carping here, but Farage is the only one at the moment who stood up and said, I'm going to do this. And, of course, quite rightly, people say, yeah, but it won't happen. Human rights and refugee statuses and courts and whatever. I'd start by stripping powers from these left-wing human rights lawyers, again paid by taxpayers. I'd have absolute control. I know the judiciary has to be, but there has to be some sort of understanding. We've had a story while we've been on air about a man who's an illegal migrant who was about to be sentenced. He's missed his court case this afternoon in Bournemouth in Dorset because he was found sitting on the beach having fish and chips. So he can't go back to court for another month. So he's going to have another 30 nights in a 4-star hotel. And we're paying. I don't understand how even the worst politician, right, cannot see that the optics of so much of this madness is awful. And actually, I don't not take issue with you, pal, ever, but when you say radical, this station, your newspaper, the things that talk sense are based not on radicalism, they're based on common bloody sense. To me, it's common bloody sense to have a legal system that means the person that commits the crime goes to jail and the victim's looked after, not the other way round.
Yeah, you're totally right. And by radical, I mean radical in terms of what's going on at the moment. Yeah. But actually, like you had said, common sense in the grand scheme of things. And I don't, we talk about the Overton window. It's sort of a horrible Westminster bubble phrase, which means, how public discourse has shifted over time. And it has shifted because people are sick to the backteeth of voting for things in election after election, which never seems to happen. It's this sense now that we are just totally incapable of enforcing our own borders, policing our own laws, and deporting people who are wrong'uns who are currently in our country. And not only do we not deport them, but we sort of seem to give them the absolute world. And I think that is why there is such frustration at the moment. In terms of what the government's reaction to this will be, they have said they are going to review the way that the courts interpret this Article 8 ECHR right, which is the right to a family life, which is the constant source of frustration in the courts when it comes to trying to deport people. And they come up with all kinds of ludicrous reasons, egged on by left-wing lawyers who essentially, try and get them to come up with pretty bogus claims to get to stay here. The government has said they're going to review that system. But I think that many people are thinking there is just a bit of a lack of urgency with this. They made this point last year, and we're now in September, and they promised to review this. And so I think that people just are getting a bit exasperated, and they see these stories coming out every day, and they think that there's no real sense of urgency or a sense of trying to grasp the nettle in this government. They talk tough. And to be fair to the new Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, she's definitely come out with some new rhetoric.
Listen, she's been far more vocal than... Yeah. I know you've got to go. I just want to finish with one thing. A couple of weeks ago, Keir Starmer announced he had full confidence in Angela Rayner. She was gone by Friday. The following week, he announced he had full confidence in Peter Mandelson, who was gone by Friday. Overnight, this story that his Chief of Staff, Morgan, I pretend he sounds like he's in a pirate, but Morgan McSweeney, his Chief of Staff, the man who got him into number 10, there's a sort of error of a £700,000 donation. hidden donations, bit of a mistake. Tories are jumping up and down, want to bring in the police. Starmer says he's got full confidence in Morgan McSweeney. You're the political editor of The Sun. McSweeney will be gone by the weekend then, won't he? Because this is one big dark story, isn't it?
I'm afraid I don't agree with you, Jeremy. Angela Rayner and Peter Mandelson were both expendable. I don't think Morgan McSweeney is. He is the
no, he might not be expendable.
Keir Starmer's government.
He might not be expendable, Jack, but the papers aren't going to leave this alone, and neither the Tories. For a man who is behind this whole premiership of it being, you know, it should be right and proper and noses in the trough, £700,000 in hidden donations is a mistake. Problem.
Totally agree. And for a prime minister who made such a virtue in opposition of being absolutely squeaky clean and hammering the Tories every single time there is a whiff of a Scalise scandal, it's clearly very awkward for them at the moment. And I agree. I think the story probably will run because it is embarrassing for the prime minister. Will he throw Morgan McSweeney under the bus? I really don't see that happening.
You know more than me, but it just seems to us, and I know your paper as well, it's sort of every single day there's a story, Jack, isn't there? There really is, and it goes from bad to worse. We really appreciate. How is the lovely, glamorous world of Westminster in your little office there? How's it going?
Yeah, it's very nice, thank you. You know, it's busy times, I think. It's sort of the calm before the conference season storm. We've got Labour this weekend up in Liverpool. Yes. We've got the Tories afterwards. I didn't go down to the Lib Dems in Bournemouth. I sent Martina, my colleague, on that one. It's good to share out these opportunities when they come along. These golden opportunities. I sent her along.
What a miss that was. Can I just say that if I get public transport to Westminster, then I come and have lunch and sit in your office with you because it looks very impressive.
I can buy you a nice lunch. Yeah, we can go out, chew the fat. Put the world to rights. As long as we don't get mobs like I know you do when you venture out of public without your balaclava.
No, I'm changing all of that. I'm going on the tube. Jack Elsom, you're a legend. Thank you very much indeed. Almost 4:45. We're live across the UK. Listen, your calls are coming up. 0344 499 1000. You text 87222. Before 5, we're going to speak to Lord Craig McKinley, director of the Global Warming Policy Foundation, on the back of Donald Trump yesterday saying, basically, climate change, net zero is the biggest con job since God created the world. Back in 3.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Kev here at 7. Harry Cole, I should tell you this, 10 o'clock tonight. Harry Cole saves the West. An exclusive. Boris Johnson, former Prime Minister, on Harry Cole from 10 o'clock. Mike Graham on afterwards as well. Boris Johnson facing the questions. Boris wave, all the migrants. What happened, Boris? Harry Cole, 10 o'clock tonight, in conjunction with The Sun on Talk. Do not miss it. It's going to be fantastic. Margaret, Shabana Mahmood looking into this scandal about taxes needs to get a bloody move on. This will tip the British people over the edge. These freeloaders should not be here. Send them all back. And Starmer, get out of that bubble you live in and start doing the bloody job. Kelvin Austin, Sadiq Khan says a lot about Trump. Sadiq Khan is a liar. He's arrogant. His city is riddled with knife crime, rape, phone snatching, shoplifting. Sadiq Khan lies, lies. So Khan, look in the mirror at yourself. Trump is right about you. You should be kicked out of office. I can't say who the bigger king of lies is, Khan or Starmer. Kelvin in Macclesfield. Stephen Cambridge. As the home of common sense, there is nobody who talks more sense than Poppy Coburn. Stephen Cambridge says, a big fan. John Smith. England, no idea. Jez, it's not just the 2K to leave and the 5-star hotels that migrants have, along with the rest of the scams, are being ripped off. It's all in the name of the ECHR. Stan the man in Cheshire. I just had a 12-night stay in hospital. My wife had to pay for a taxi each day to visit me as there was no direct bus service. Can I claim this cost from the hard-working taxpayer because I'm skint? Maybe. 0344 499 1000 to the phone lines quickly. East Yorkshire. Patrick, you're on Talk Drive. Good afternoon, sir. A couple of minutes only. What you got?
Hello, Jezzy. Yeah, really good. I mean, there's two blokes who's played a blinder this last week. One of them is Farage because his timing before the Labour conference and before the Conservative conference threw the grenade into the middle of both of them, and the Liberals have picked up on it as well. And 32 times he was mentioned yesterday.
I think Farage. I think that Ed Davies got Farage to. What's that syndrome? Derangement syndrome. I think he's got Farage. 30 times he mentioned him, like you said in his speech. It's nuts.
Yeah. So he's played a blinder. The next person who's played a blinder is Trump, because everything he says is right. And I think the government thought by throwing a few soldiers in front of him, walking up and down and putting the cavalcades on for him, they'd got him on side. I think NATO thought he was on side, and he's told them that they're a load of rubbish and not done anything since 1985. It's just a fact, Jez, and I fear for my granddaughter and my grandson, who are only 9 and 2, that by the time they grow up to be 20, this won't be a Christian country anymore. We will be the minority.
Well, I'm not. Listen, I don't care. It's really simple. My approach has always been this, my friend. I think over the years, quite rightly, morally, we've led the way. Sometimes we've always been the leaders. Look what we did with Ukraine. The fact is, it's changed. We are skin. I keep saying it every day. We can't afford the interest on the debts we've got. But when you are saying to your indigenous population, thanks so much, Adib, for working hard, not breaking the law, feeding your kids, paying your taxes, but we're going to keep paying you more taxes. But you know the things you're paying for, you're not going to get them. Other people who shouldn't be in this country are. That's when you've got trouble. Patrick in East Yorkshire, thank you. 0344 499 330. I didn't get the number right this week. What's the matter with me? 0344 499 1000. Great guest next, Lord Craig McKinley. We're going to talk about net zero. Yesterday, Donald Trump said it's the biggest con in the goddamn world. Back in 3.
Remember the case of the man who violently attacked a protester who was burning a Quran, shouting F Islam outside the Turkish consulate in London to, the man who attacked him, who came out, this is Musa Kadri, he came running at him saying, I'm going to kill you, repeatedly slashed at him with a bread knife. If you're watching, we've got the footage of it right now. It's on camera. It's not like there's a query whether he did it or not. He then got him to the ground, carried on kicking him on the ground and trying to slash him.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
About 6 minutes to 5, we're delighted to say good afternoon to Lord Craig McKinley, Conservative peer and Director of the Global Warming Policy Foundation. Craig, how are you, my friend?
Very well indeed, yeah, good.
Great to have you on. Obviously, you're incredibly pro-net zero, so we're going to have a big argument. I'm joking. Donald Trump yesterday, I mean, you know, we've got the FBI. They're about to be investigated. They're investigating somebody who stopped the elevator. He took aim at everybody, but to say that he humiliated Sir Keir Starmer in his UN speech, he slammed UK's net zero push, he hates windmills, solar panels are a waste of time. And what he also said, which I think a lot of people would agree with, you've got liquid gold under your sea, you idiots, you're skint, why don't you just drill? The man talks... I know he's a pain in the backside, but all of that is sense, isn't it, Craig?
Well, I mean, some of Donald's speeches are great, and that was quite a fun one yesterday. He was a little bit Fidel Castro-ish, where he was only meant to be on for 15 minutes, but managed to fill the full hour. But no, on energy, he's got it absolutely spot on. We are spending £30 billion a year in Norway to buy oil and gas that's just over the border, the halfway border between us and them. And that means lots of tax revenue for Norway, lots of, it's all good stuff for them. But we are turning off the same taps out of the same basin on the other side of the border. And what's left of our oil industry is closing down. And who can blame them with a 78% tax rate? Yeah. And they're feeling very unloved and unwelcome. And with it, we're losing literally thousands and thousands of very well-paid jobs in Scotland that's reliant on that whole industry. I mean, it is. If you were to think of the maddest thing you could ever think of, this has got to be up there, where we could be more locally supplied, so that's security of energy, we'd be getting tax revenues, we'd be getting good jobs, and we'd be saving a hell of a lot of balance of payments problems.
And that's...
Britain's always had a bad balance of payment situation. We're just making it worse.
And that's the issue for me. I mean, I can sit here every day, Craig, and we can talk about how wind farms might be, to a lot of people a good idea, but they don't create enough energy, so then you end up importing it at a greater cost than you would do it yourself if you did it differently. That increases bills. I heard this ludicrous story last week, which I mean is just ridiculous, where if it blows too much, we can't store it. And to turn the bloody windmills off costs more than having them on. The whole thing is ludicrous. And for a country that is financially in dire straits, and I believe at any minute is going to go cap in hand to the IMF, who will probably say no or charge us whatever percentage, we have this natural resource, and I don't know whether it's going to upset the friends of the earth, I'm sure, and I'm sure we could legislate for people living nearby, but it doesn't make fiscal or common sense, does it, to anybody, this decision?
Well, it doesn't. You've got the Climate Change Committee, I have to say, an organisation that I do not hold in great respect, but even they say we will be having gas in our system and as part of the energy mix beyond 2050. We have gas under our feet, whether it's in the North Sea, and I note a report just last week that there is potentially 3 times as much still out there than we thought was there at all. And then you've got the whole issue of fracking. Should you wish to go there? I do wish to go there because I think digging up stuff that's worth value is worth having, particularly when you've got energy security problems. So one way and another, this country has got plenty of gas to see it through for quite a number of decades. There is absolutely no point in buying it from Australia, which we have done in the past, on an LNG ship, which requires loads of energy to supercool the gas. You're transporting it halfway around the world, more energy to get the gas back into a liquid. And then we say, aren't we lovely and wonderful because, you know, we don't count the output of the ship's CO2. I mean, the whole of the carbon accounting is skewed. I mean, you look at any industry, we've got the ceramics industry in dire straits because energy is so expensive. So they're dismantling various factories, putting them together back in China that make the same stuff on the back of cheap king coal, and then we ship the stuff back to the UK on a diesel ship and say we are virtuous, aren't we? The thing is
virtually mad. That's what I'd say.
I think the wheels are going to fall off of Miliband's policies before long.
Well, that'll be good. Now, we haven't got long, but I need to ask you 3 questions. It's great to see you, mate. Everybody knows your story, and I mean that fantastic. 3 simple questions, total honesty required. Does Keir Starmer make it as Labour leader to the next election? Yes or no?
Yes.
Does he? Does Kemi Badenoch make it to the next election as leader of the Tory party?
Yes.
Ooh. Do you suffer like Ed Davey with Farage derangement syndrome? So the next question is very important. Is Farage the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Craig McKinley?
Doubtful.
Really? Interesting. Please come on more often. We would love to have you on next week for a longer chat. We really appreciate your time. Lord Craig McKinley there, nailing what basically Donald Trump says. The energy policy of the United Kingdom is absolutely barking bloody mad, led by, oh yes, Ed Millipede. News at 5 next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, my friends. Hour 2 of Drive for Wednesday. We are the home of common sense and free speech, and thank the Lord God we are, because seemingly there's no common sense in the world at all anymore. Today's amazingly barking mad news is that we live in a system where asylum seekers, who are basically shouldn't be in this country, are not only being put up in 4-star hotels. We've discovered today, just the sun, bless them, thousands of migrants staying in hotels across the UK are getting private taxis costing thousands thousands of pounds to various parts of the United Kingdom to perhaps go to a doctor. This morning, Mike brought this up at 6 o'clock on Morning Glory. The first call he had was a bloke in Herne Bay who's a taxi driver. Have a listen.
Morning, Mike. Steve from Herne Bay. Our taxi driver who does our airport runs took a single migrant from Folkestone to Scotland, 800 quid in a luxury Mercedes. It's a joke.
So let me be absolutely crystal clear. So you can break into this country, be put in a hotel, not work. You can jump any queue that British hard-working, loyal people are queuing in. And if you can't get to a doctor here, we'll pay more tax to put you in a luxury car to drive you somewhere else just to make sure you get paid better than us. And if that isn't enough to wind you up on a Wednesday, check this one out. Footage, thank you again to The Sun. A group of serious offenders, and when I say serious offenders, so bad with their crimes, killers, thieves, sexual abusers, Romanian people, 42 of them going to be deported from the United Kingdom. We've got footage which we'll show in a minute. But as they go away, we're terribly nice. We'll buy your ticket for you. We'll send a few people to chaperone you, bring you some soup and a couple of sandwiches, and we're going to put £2,000 on a credit card so that when you get back to Romania, it's not too difficult for you. Actually, don't play the clip because I'm going to actually use this text because it's brilliant. £2,000, there you go. Chris in Surrey, spot on. Rhetorical question, Jez. If the migrants are receiving a preloaded card to the tune of £2,000, despite the fact they've committed crimes to get the hell out of it, that's actually £500 more than it costs to get on a boat to come back. And they've also been told that they can if they want to. It's a self-funding loop. This country is in dire trouble. We have a Labour councillor, listen to this, a Labour councillor who stood up. Have you got this clip? I mean, this guy's a complete... This guy says that waving the flag is only done by weirdos and nonces. Have a listen.
Operation Raise the Colours, an organised and orchestrated attempt by a bunch of criminals, extremists, nonces, to hijack our national flag.
Sorry, could we, Jodie, while I'm doing this, could we, don't worry, just to come in face, fine. Can we get the name of that stupid idiot, that Labour councillor? We should try and get hold of him. It's an absolute, oh, Faith, I mean, she's bought me a cookie, she's bought me tea. The service, Jodie, honestly, she is way above standard. Amazing. Katie, this is what Katie thinks of the Labour councillor, calling people who raise their flag a nonce.
Hello, Jeremy. Katie here from the east of England. It's just regarding the comments made by a Labour person saying about calling people nonces. That's a very strong term. I actually find it quite disgraceful considering Raise the Colours is an effort to just identify like we should be able to as British and as English and have pride in our country like other countries do. And further to that, also think of the great work the wonderful peaceful protesters at Epping have done and the Pink Ladies when it comes to saving our children, save our kids. So for them to use a phrase such as criminals and nonces are the only ones raising the flags or raising the colours is really quite frankly mind-boggling. Yeah, just wanted to let you know that.
Completely agree, Katie. Thank you very much indeed. Let's go very quickly to Josie before we have our next guest. Josie's in Leicester. You're on Talk Drive. Good afternoon, Josie.
Oh, good afternoon. How are you? You okay?
I'm slightly... I am all right, but I am getting more and tetchy by the hour and the day because this country is on its backside.
Same here. Same here. I have never, ever seen my community in Leicester in the last 2.5 years change drastically. It's illegal, migrants, illegal. I've never seen anything like it. To the point, I don't even want to go out no more. It makes me nervous.
What do you say to people on the left who would say that that's unfair? These people have come from war-torn countries and, frankly, we should be more accommodating and kinder to them.
Yeah, but they haven't. That's just it. The more you see around and the more you witness, they haven't. If they come from a torn world country, they'll stay in France, Italy, wherever they get there. They will be grateful for whatever they get. There's something going on that everybody has just been drawn here.
Well, of course, you know what it is. Slow down a minute. You know what it is? It's because we give them a bloody taxi. We get them a doctor's appointment more than the poor old pensioners who aren't having their houses heated this winter. That's the argument. And that is what I will keep saying, and I will keep saying it whether it's popular or not. I get that we've always helped people. It was all right, I suspect, when we could afford it. But this country is skinned. And I think that... let me know what you think, all of you. I think that once you are putting your own people second, you're in real trouble. Now, a lot of people don't like it when I say that. Your own people, oh, that's wrong. Well, no, it's not, because we're paying the tax that's supposed to provide these services, and when we're not getting them, not even getting a sniff of them, that's not great, is it?
No, and we've had the Boris wave in Leicester. Everybody from India, Punjab can't speak a word of English. They're working on the black market. I don't care what the hell Boris were doing, bringing in this wave of people saying we need care workers. I'm telling you now. Come to Leicester and I can point out every single one of them. It's almost like it's a mini India. I'm just thinking, what the hell are you doing to our city?
Listen, thank you for coming on. 0344 499 1000. Breaking news. Oh God, is this like this is a result for the government? Is it? A family of 3, including a small child, are the first to have arrived in the UK through the new legal route under the UK's landmark migration treaty with France. So a family have come in, yeah, for 3. That's more than we've deported in 2 months. It's great, isn't it? We've deported 3 people in 2 months, and a family from 3 have arrived this afternoon, and that's the result. 0344 499 1000. By the way, got to call him out. Jeremy Newmark is the Labour leader of Hertsmere Borough Council in Hertfordshire, you disgrace of a man. He said, and I quote, that anybody that stands up and waves the flag is a criminal or a nonce. I would say that's hate speech. I would say he should be sued. I would say that's a disgrace. Jeremy Newmark, not that he'd be brave enough to come on here. I don't think that's very impressive as a councillor. We're going to say a very good afternoon to a fantastic councillor and a woman who I met at the Reform Party conference, but I was almost too embarrassed to say hello. It's very important. Leila Cunningham, good afternoon. Westminster City Councillor for Reform UK. How are you?
Hi, Kyle. How are you?
I did try and say hello, but you were looking very important. You were on the main stage, and I was just running around with the microphone.
You were also on the main stage a bit.
How are you?
Thanks. How are you? I'm furious.
I think I'm in severe danger of imploding and being carted off to a funny farm for presenters who finally... I mean, yesterday was bad enough. Well, Sunday we recognised Palestine. Monday, our Prime Minister then decided that he'd try and soften the blow by saying Happy Rosh Hashanah to the Jewish community, having offended them because he stuck up for the terrorists that are Hamas. We bang into that. We had Ed Davey yesterday, who's obviously got Farage derangement syndrome. He accused Nigel Farage, if he gets elected, of introducing guns into schools, for as far as I know. And I woke up this morning thinking, no, it's Wednesday, Leila, it's going to be OK, to find out that we're spending hundreds of £1,000s a year saying to people who shouldn't be in our country, don't you worry about it, it's fine, and please don't go on the bus, and please don't worry about not seeing a doctor, because we're going to get you an E-Class Mercedes, and we're going to take you 600 miles to a doctor who will see you tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Is that all right? The world's gone bloody mad, Leila.
Carl, not the world, our government. I'm sick of it. Being told there's no money for basic services, no money for more police, no money for doctors, no money for pensions, and yet suddenly there's always money for £600 taxis for people who came here illegally. And guess what? He's seeing a consultant for his knee. I couldn't get to see a consultant for my knee. A consultant. And then you hear that this government's trying to get a grip. Of course they're trying. Why can't they get a grip? Because it's not their money.
I don't even think it's that, but I don't think there's a will to get a grip. I think that there is paralysis at the very top of our government for one reason, and I think the Palestinian, when they recognised Palestine, when Starmer did, and when the following day he tried to placate the Jewish community, sums up what the problem is. He is not proactive, he is reactive. I don't believe there's a plan, and I believe that if you make your tent so large that to get elected, you invite everybody. He spends his entire time trying to please all the people all the time, and the truth of the matter is it not, he manages to annoy almost everybody all the time. There's no DNA there's no antennae, there's nothing that makes me think, do you know what? I said on a show earlier, I almost, if I disagreed with him, and he stood up and he said, I'm pro-Palestine and anti-Jews. Or if I was pro-Jewish and anti-Palestine. Nothing. It's got to be all things to all people. He's just a slime ball that never gets it right in my mind. Sorry, it's how I see it.
Kyle, it's not such a white tent, though. He doesn't talk for the most of the people. You know, he says he wants to reclaim the flag, but what does the flag even stand for if a 14-year-old girl in Essex is sexually assaulted by an illegal migrant that he housed in that hotel? Yeah. How dare he talk about unity while our children are left unprotected? And let's be clear, the flag doesn't need reclaiming. It belongs to the people, and that's who he doesn't have in his tent. What needs reclaiming is safety and justice, and a government that actually puts British people first. I'm sick of it that we are second-class citizens in the eyes of this government.
Why is it, do you think, that the left, I mean, you're saying what I've said and for 3 years in this station, you know, Mike and Julia and Ian and Kev, because common sense, right, when this started, people go, what, common sense? And yet Trump said it in his inauguration speech. It doesn't make any sense to say to an indigenous population, thanks so much for working hard and paying your bills and paying your taxes and not breaking the law and feeding your kids and just being a good citizen, but I'm really sorry, you know what you've paid for, you know you paid into the bank, we're going to take that off you and we're going to give it to somebody else because we feel that that would show us to be better people. Do the optics not resonate in the heads of these idiots that actually the reality is that people are becoming increasingly hacked off, and they're not far-right thugs. They're not people that you can label as the left do. These people speak sense. Working people. I spend so much of my time in Newcastle. This government came to power talking about working people. There isn't a person north of Islington that I have met who thinks that this government does anything other than look after itself, and in fact is a mirror image of the last lot with their noses in the trough. And I'm like you, I sort of despair. I genuinely am turning into my dad on a daily basis.
I know you do feel you're turning into your parents, but now you realise, I don't know if it's ever been this bad. Now we have, what, another story of corruption, another story of misleading the public.
What, Morgan McSweeney, the man who sounds like he should be in... I've made a character out of him. I think he should be in Pirates of the Caribbean. Morgan McSweeney. This man was absolutely central to getting Keir Starmer to power, has admitted there was an admin error or a mistake over a £700,000. Let me play a clip actually later, and for people just tuning in. This is about Morgan McSweeney, Chief of Staff for Keir Starmer, accused of sort of hiding 700 grand. Have a watch, have a listen.
Think he'll stay in his post?
Yes, I do, and you know, I think he's a very talented individual, as I say. Someone I've worked with closely, and these issues which are being raised today, I can see why the Tories want to make as much of this as they can, and they want you to be asking me and other Labour spokespeople about it. But the Electoral Commission, which is the body which is charged with policing donations, declarations, everything of this kind, they looked into these issues 3 or 4 years ago. They took action at the time, and they issued a statement last night making clear that was the case.
That, of course, was Pat McFadden, the government's, well, I'm going to say attack dog. He doesn't really look like an attack dog, defending Morgan McSweeney. I simply said this, Leila, 2 weeks ago. Jack Elsom disagrees with me from The Sun. We all have opinions. 2 weeks ago, Starmer went, I have full confidence in Angela Rayner. She was gone by Friday. Following week, he said, I've got total confidence in Peter Mandelson. He was gone by Friday. This morning, he said, I've got total confidence by Morgan McSweeney. More difficult, because I guess McSweeney knows where the bodies are buried, but... the police are getting involved by the Tories. I don't know. It's just a horrible mess, isn't it, our government?
And didn't he just admit that he was fined for wrongdoing?
Yeah.
Is that really the kind of person we want running the inner circle? Like you said, Starmer has a pattern, not of leadership, but of loyalty to crooks.
Yeah.
He stood by Angela Rayner once she dodged stamp duty, all while preparing to tax our homes even more. He stood by Mandelson, who was best friends with one of the most prolific paedophiles in modern history, and yet at the same time his own minister was smearing reform and Nigel Farage as being on the side of child predators for opposing the online safety bill. Honestly, they are a masterclass of double standards and hypocrisy. And imagine the scandal they suffered in a year or a few months. Imagine what we're going to see in 5 years.
I don't think that... I'm not just saying this. I don't think they can and will last 5 years. I'd love your commenters also about a Labour council leader. Jeremy Newmark is the Labour leader of Hertsmere Borough Council. Have you seen what he said? About raising... he attacked somebody who was talking about raising the flag, and he said, basically, people that raise the flag are criminals and, ready for this, nonces, Leila Cunningham. That's what he said this afternoon. That's a Labour council leader.
And they always resort, Kyle, to insults. We just call them the left. They call us far rights, fascist. I was called hard rights. Even Keir Starmer says that those on that march were a threat to our country and divisive. But I tell you, nothing divides this country more than ignoring victims while protecting the very system that puts us in danger and smearing us. And that's what Labour does, because they can't attack us on anything else. They can't say anything else. So they're attacking the very people who really suffer because of this government's policies.
Somebody said to me earlier that Farage, in coming out and saying what he did the other day about deportations and how he's going to, well, putting some meat on the bone, had really stolen the thunder from the other parties in terms of the conference was first and they've now got to deal with this. Just, Nigel Farage, in your opinion, very quickly, seems to us, to be talking about the things the British people want to talk about, to be offering real solutions. Yes, he's going to be criticised, and I'm sure it won't be easy, and I'm sure mistakes would be made if he was elected, and times would be difficult. But to me, there's an authenticity about what he says, an understanding, an organic sort of normalness that I don't hear. And it's the first politician, this is me being honest as a voter, that I've heard be that honest and authentic and believable since, you know, the Thatchers and even Blair when he started. The rest seem to have just been a sort of stream of people who just say what the latest photo, you know, group of, you know, people that vote and see what they, just focus group and nothing from the heart. Would that be a fair analogy?
Yeah, it's a very fair analogy because, as you know, if you voted Conservative or Labour, you got the same thing. Open borders, taxes went up, streets became less safe. And Nigel's the only person who's addressing that. I mean, he's not complicit in it. The others too are. And for the first time in decades, Britain and British people have a choice. They either want to change the rut we're stuck in for generations, mass migration that people didn't vote for, and we're not about managing decline. We're about growth, and we're about a much better country than we have now. People are paying the highest taxes since World War II, Kyle. Yeah. And services are the worst they've been. They're tired of working hard, getting nothing in return, and always fearing a tax rise down the line. Okay, and then you know, migrants coming in here and just claiming benefits. People are going to claim indefinite leave to remain, claiming benefits for life. That's not the way a serious country operates. And look, we're not talking about deporting people. If you've been here for decades on indefinite leave to remain, then show your commitment to this country and claim citizenship. If you've got a clean record and no problems, then you'll get it. And if, you know, we have a 5-year renewable visa, if you're of good character and you speak English, what's the problem? We want people who come. It's the same
as I said it yesterday. I had to go to America and work for 3 years. It took bloody months to get a visa, but you have to do that. Any other sane country would. I have to finish with a man that I don't particularly like, and I'm not talking about Donald Trump. Donald Trump yesterday tore a second backside, it seems, out of most of the world at the UN, but he saved his best for Sadiq Khan, who is, you have a horrible mayor. You have a horrible mayor, and London is, which it is. It's a horrible place to be. Today, Sadiq Khan has started kicking back. He says that Trump is a racist, he's sexist, he's Islamophobic, that London is one of the best cities in the world, safer than all major US cities, and Americans are flocking to live here. You're a Westminster councillor. Who do you side with? What's the truth about London, Leila?
The truth is that knife crime, sexual assault, shoplifting, burglaries are all at a record high because he's cut visible policing, halved stop and search, and basically he's deprioritised our safety, and everyone feels it. And I don't know why Trump is. Did he call him? What did he call? Why is he racist? What did he say? That's racist?
He said he's racist, sexist, and Islamophobic.
What does Islamophobic even mean? I'm Muslim.
Well, presumably because he's insulting Sadiq Khan and saying he's crap at his job, that means he's racist. He's Islamophobic, and for all I know, I mean, you can't listen. I was in a lift the other day with a woman. I said after you, and she looked at me like I'd landed from Mars. Ed Davey was asked yesterday 9 times if a woman had a penis. I'm 60 years of age. I've forgotten what the reality of my life is, to be honest with you. So God knows what Sadiq Khan's going. You know what I'm going to ask you though, don't you?
No, go on.
Take him on, Leila. Come on, take him on.
Oh, wait, listen, if the time comes, I'd love to take him on.
You should take him on in London,
I wonder if he dares to take me on, Kyle.
You what?
I wonder if he dares to take me on.
Yeah, very good. Did you call me Kyle then?
No.
Oh, I thought you did. I thought you said Kyle. I said, I'm going to take it on. Listen, I love having you on. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much indeed. Leila Cunningham, Westminster City Councillor. And I think she should take Sadiq Khan in a lunge. She'd whip his backside. What is it, 5:22? And stand by. Coming next, a titan of radio, a titan of TV. It's me, mate, MG, next on Talk Drive.
Remember the case of the man who violently attacked a protester who was burning a Quran, shouting F Islam outside the Turkish consulate in London to, the man who attacked him, who came out, this is Musa Kadri, he came running at him saying, I'm going to kill you, repeatedly slashed at him with a bread knife. If you're watching, we've got the footage of it right now. It's on camera. It's not like there's a query whether he did it or not. He then got him to the ground, carried on kicking him on the ground and trying to slash him.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 5:25. We're live across the United Kingdom. Talk Drive, the home of common sense, free speech, and of course, ladies and gentlemen, the home of Mike Graham's Morning Glory.
Very good afternoon to you.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
This morning at 6:15, as I tuned into your dulcet tones, the man from Herne Bay, the taxi driver, rang and he said this.
Morning, Mike. Steve from Herne Bay. Our taxi driver who does our airport runs took a single migrant from Folkestone to Scotland, 800 quid in a luxury Mercedes. It's a joke.
So we're actually paying, we're actually saying to migrants, help me out, because you've been here all day. Thanks for breaking into our country, but it's OK, we'll put you in a hotel. And then thanks for doing absolutely nothing, probably committing crimes. We're going to get you an E-Class Mercedes and we're going to take you to wherever you want in the UK. In this case, for a knee, somebody to look at your knee. And we're going to pay for that. And we're going to expect all the poor buggers who've been paying their tax to pay for that whilst you just lounge around.
Exactly. And I had to listen to it twice, because the first time I thought, Folkestone to where? Did he say Scotland? And to play it again? Yes, Scotland.
£800.
800 quid. To Scotland, you know, because apparently when you move house, right, you have to get a doctor for your family, for your kids. You have to sign in with a GP. If you're lucky enough to have a GP who can let you in, then you sign up. What you don't do is go back to your old GP 800 miles away, or 400 miles away, or 300 miles away, because that's the only person that can see you. It's completely insane.
I don't even know how they get to see them. On top of which, this appalling footage today, 42 Romanian thugs, and when I say thugs, I'm talking about rapists, murderers and thieves are being deported, and we've got this footage and it basically shows them being sort of ushered by people being paid onto seats that we paid for, and we give them £2 grand.
Because apparently there's an incentive.
Can we look at it? Can we just honestly just play this bloody footage? It's madness.
Capture compliant migrants being given bank cards preloaded with money, up to £2,000 each, to encourage and aid their resettlement in Romania.
Somebody said this is a vicious loop. Do you know why? They're not told they can't come back. They go to Romania with £2 grand. It costs 1,500 quid to come back, so it's a £500. They're making 500 quid every time they do it. That's so ludicrous. Why are we giving them money?
Because apparently they won't be convinced that they should go unless we do. It's completely insane.
Get out of my country. I'm going to convince you. You're a criminal and you don't belong here.
I know.
Why does that make me far right? Can you help me out?
It doesn't make you far right. It makes you far too sensible to be in government. That's what it means. Because these people have got no idea what they're doing. You know, the idea that somehow, you know, we have to give, you know, special treatment to migrants. This is what the Home Office have said, that basically the Home Office Minister, who was on various different places, not mine, this morning.
Of course not.
Because they don't come on there.
Why is that? Because they don't like you?
Well, I don't think they do. I don't think they like being asked difficult questions. No, I couldn't care less. You know, in fact, I'd rather they didn't come on, because it means more time for me to rant on at them and how useless they are. But, you know, apparently they actually said they have to be given special treatment, these migrants, because they're not like ordinary people. Well, how is that then?
Well, no, they're 42. These 42
how are they not like
criminals?
Ordinary people? Why do they need special treatment?
Well, and again, we go back to the same thing, which is if you're then basically saying to your indigenous population, you can just sod off, you get to the back of the... Not great. Couple of voice notes, see what Mikey thinks. Rob on taxis on migrants, go.
Hello, Jez. It's Rob in Starbridge here, mate. Well, I've just come out of work, put your radio show on, and I've heard some migrant has been taxied to Scotland for £800, right? I ride my bike to work, mate, through the wind, through the rain. I don't want to, but I have to, you know what I mean? Because I've got no other choice. And then with me, giving them hotels, giving them free phones, giving them free taxis. And yet here I am, going out on a morning, riding my bike, to feed them, to clothe them. I'm absolutely disgusted.
Save that and play that on every single show. That is exactly what I say, Mikey, every day. He's been at work for 10 hours. I'm being serious. He rides his bike to work to pay his job, to look after his kids, to put food on the table. Why does he bother? That is exactly why I do this job.
Exactly right, because we speak for those people who aren't getting a voice from
Nobody's
anybody
speaking
else.
for them.
The government doesn't care about them. Government says, if you're self-employed, we might come after you and charge you some more.
Why would he
tax.
bother going to work tomorrow? Why doesn't he go and say, I'm just going to break into another country?
I had a message from somebody today who said, I've actually, had enough. I've given up. I've given up work. I'm not going to do it anymore. But until they get rid of this ridiculous system of migrants getting everything for free, I'm not going back to work. I'm going to just get benefits and be a sponger just like everybody else.
Rob, we're with you in Stourbridge. Great call. Jeff, on migrants and the £2,000 we give them, go.
Hi, Jeremy. Great show like normal. You're on about the migrants being given £2,000 to get out of our country. All they're going to do is use that £2,000 again, pay the people to come across the channel, and then they start their business all over again. But in the meantime, they get free bed and breakfast in the hotels. Thanks very much. It's Jeff from Southampton. Bye.
Jeff from Southampton. I mean, maybe you come back and get another 2,000. Get 2,000 a month that way, can't you? So soon you're making 24 grand a year.
But I get home and my wife goes, "Are you and Graham been bitching again?" And even now she's like, I understand it. Because it would be nice not to come to work and have to do this every day. But I'm going to give you a story for this afternoon. You didn't even do this because an hour ago. You ready?
Yeah.
Can you get the camera on my mate's face? An asylum seeker has had his sentencing hearing postponed for a month after he left court to go and get some fish and chips. Shakir Jamal, 24, is being housed at a migrant hotel, was due to be sentenced for threatening another man with a snooker cue in Bournemouth, Dorset today, was due to be jailed. An interpreter who speaks Kurdish Sorani, the language spoken in Iraq or Kurdistan, was booked for the hearing. It's about 800 quid.
Yeah.
But when his case was called, Paul Magistrates called at 12:30 this afternoon, Jamal was nowhere to be found. His defence lawyer went to look for him. There was no sign in the public lobby or anywhere in the building. 15 minutes later, the defendant was spotted sitting on a bench outside, looking out to sea, eating fish and chips bought from the Nearway Parkway fish bar. By the time Jamal re-entered the building, having finished his fish and chips, another case had been called. There was a delay and a backlog, which means he can't see anybody until the end of October, so will return to his four-star hotel, despite the fact that he's admitted attacking somebody and should in fact be in prison. Right.
Why is he not in custody? Why is he not in custody?
He's going to go.
What's wrong with it? What's going on?
Ridiculous, man. That is a genuine story.
Also, no doubt, the money that he used to buy the fish and chips and given to him, probably on one of those cards that they get, because they get given a card in case they need to get food, that they're not given for free while they're in the hotel.
Do you think we're going to end up?
Christ.
Do you think we're going to end up in a sort of home, shaking with blankets on us?
No.
Do you remember when we were taking on?
No,
it's driving me
because
nuts.
this is what keeps you fit. This is what keeps you alive. This is what keeps you alert. And so we'll be sitting here. We might have blankets over us, but we'll still be broadcasting.
Dribbling.
Yeah.
Two other stories for you this afternoon. Now, the one in, one out thing that hasn't gone particularly well.
No, four out so far.
Well, no, three, to be fair. But
it's four.
OK, well, you've ruined my gig.
Sorry.
But anyway, we only heard this an hour ago.
OK.
A family of three, including a small child, have been reported to be the first to have arrived here through the new legal route under the UK's landmark migration treaty with France. So that's taken 14 months.
Right.
And as many have arrived legally today as we've managed to deport in about a year.
Yes.
So that's great,
Fantastic, isn't it? I mean, it is extraordinary. And I'm looking at the information that's about this case. We don't know where they're from. They haven't told us where they're from.
But by saying you're being disrespectful, because that could affect their human rights.
I couldn't care less. I want to know who they are, I want to know where they're going, and I want to know where they're living.
Yeah.
Are we putting them up in a hotel? Are they moving? Because one of the criteria that you have to qualify by is to have family here. Are they going to go and live with a family? Or are we giving them a house?
Everybody's got family here, haven't they?
Yeah, especially if you're coming from Afghanistan or, because, Kurdistan or Turkey or God knows where,
Bournemouth.
Romania.
Yeah.
How do we know that these people are kosher?
We don't know anything about anybody because they're all unvetted.
Because, these ones are vetted, supposedly, but they've been asked if you've got ties to Britain. I don't know how rigorously they check that, because they could just say, I've got a brother called Mohammed who lives in Leicester. Oh, fine, well, then you come then.
Before I do the other thing, I just want a plank of the week we made this afternoon is out on Friday.
Yeah.
I did a story that you gave me. This is unbelievable. I can't remember the name of the organisation, but it's a charity.
Oh, yes.
Something
this is
about
the one that's supported by the Home Office, isn't it?
This is encouraged by the Home Office. Bail Immigrants Defence or whatever.
Like that.
Basically, ladies and gentlemen, Comic Relief, think closely, this is a fact, last year gave this organisation that's backed by the Home Office £400,000 and their booklet basically tells migrants how they can beat the system and stay in the United Kingdom. So when you're donating to Comic Relief, nearly £500,000 going to that.
Well, this is the thing. This is what people don't understand. That a lot of these charitable organisations, once you see how they disperse the income that you give them, you wouldn't give them anything.
No.
Because it's outrageous. There are so many of these migrant groups and charities that are basically set up to help these people break the system and to break into the country and to stay here. They advise them what they should say, whether you can have like mental health problems, whether you can say that you suffer from a nervous tic, you can't go back to a nervous tic.
Do you know I once went on safari? This is not. You're going to laugh. This is true. I remember my parents when I was 11, and I got a tick on my tongue, and I'm not actually. She had to take it out with tweezers. It had its teeth right on the end of it.
You get Lyme disease from those things.
Well,
as well.
I didn't get anything, but I had a sore willy. But that's a true story.
How did that happen?
I don't know. We were in the bush. That doesn't sound right.
No. Well, sometimes those kinds of things can happen.
The stories become ever more ludicrous.
It's just mad, isn't it? There was one today that I read where a lot of these migrant women are coming into the country and getting pregnant and having babies because they think mistakenly that will guarantee them that they can stay here for the rest of time. It does help. It doesn't always guarantee it, but they're all getting pregnant and they're walking around looking for men to make them pregnant so they can stay in Britain.
I'm staying in the studio. Can I also say, this afternoon, there is a man who I am filled with anger and ire about. Do you know who Jeremy Newmark is?
No.
He is the Labour leader of Hertsmere Borough Council.
Oh, yeah.
And when a Tory, actually, councillor stood up and said, reclaim the flag. Have you got this, Amy?
Yeah.
This is what Jeremy Newmark, the Labour leader of Hertsmere Borough Council, said. Watch this, have a listen.
Operation Raise the Colours, an organised and orchestrated attempt by a bunch of criminals, extremists, nonces, to hijack our national flag.
I gave it to you completely unheralded. Jeremy Newmark, Hertsmere Council, people that raise the flag are nonces.
Yeah.
How is he still in office this afternoon? How
Jeremy,
disgusting is that?
Jeremy No-Mark, I'd call him.
But hold on a second.
These people, work for us. I don't know who the hell they think they are. The only reason he's got a job is because he's paid for by the
I don't think he'll have one. John, voice note on Mr. Newmark. Go.
Hi, good afternoon, Jez. This is John from Glasgow here, speaking about the Labour councillor who terribly spoke about nonces and idiots, etc. Our national flag. I wouldn't call him Newmark. It was his surname. I would call him No-Mark. Thanks, Jez. All the best.
Sorry, Mike's already done that. Yeah, but it's true, isn't it? I mean, but actually, can you imagine? Well, I didn't know that. Aye. But can you imagine if somebody that wasn't on the left said something like that?
Yeah.
Can you imagine if a Tory
Well, what if you called somebody waving a Palestinian flag around all of those names? You'd probably be arrested by the local constabulary, wouldn't you, for hate crime, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you probably would. We've loads of calls, we've loads of texts. Do you need to go?
I probably should go, because it's nearly 6 o'clock.
It's not, it's 22 minutes to.
Yeah, I know, but...
Can you not wait 3 minutes to give me 3 more minutes? Or do you want to, if you want to go, what are you cooking?
Okay.
What are you cooking?
I'm not sure what I'm going to do tonight. I haven't really decided.
Goulash.
I had goulash the other night. It was really good.
What? Goulash reminds me of school stew.
Well, it's like a stew. It's a Hungarian flavour with a bit of, paprika in it and, some hot chili.
The man is he's a what are you again?
Epicurean.
An Epicurean. I thought that was a disease on your toes. Back in 3.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
I'd like to point out that Petri Hoskins isn't on at 10. I don't know who scheduled that. The most important news is that at 10 o'clock tonight, Harry Cole saves the West with a world exclusive. Boris Johnson and Mike, you're on that show as well.
Yes, I am, yeah.
It's amazing,
Have
by
a
the
look
way.
at what Boris Johnson had to say, because he's not been very vocal for a while about anything, but Harry Cole's had a great interview with him.
Yeah, great interview.
With some very interesting insights, which you'll be seeing later.
The Sun's editor-at-large, or large editor, in DC and the UK, over here filming for a week. Boris Johnson on, Harry Cole saves the West tonight, and MG on later. Can we talk about our friend, Morgan
McSweeney?
The reason we do that is because we feel like Morgan McSweeney sounds, in fact, a bit like a character out of Caribbean, like Pirates of the Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean, yeah.
Morgan, where's the rum?
Kevin Hollingrake, who's the chairman of the Tory party.
Yes.
I had him on my show yesterday.
Saw that.
And he was telling me about how he is now recommending the police investigate Morgan McSweeney and his whole scandal of the Labour.
Give us a little bit of this, because Pat McFadden this morning said, and I quote, look, this was looked into by the Electoral Commission.
Yeah.
They tapped him on the arm or whatever. He didn't really quantify that. It's just the Tories and other parties raking up mud. What's the truth?
He's not quite right about that, because what we know is that Labour together was certainly admonished by the Electoral Commission. They were fined by the Electoral Commission, but what's not clear is exactly what they knew that Labour together had done. For example,
Labour together was this sort of think tank group.
Think tank. It was set up specifically to get Keir Starmer to be leader of the Labour Party.
Right.
They wanted to dislodge Jeremy Corbyn. They could see
and it was run by Morgan McSweeney, who's now the chief of staff.
They could see that Jeremy Corbyn was a disaster for Labour, and if he continues to be the leader, they'd never get back into power. My suspicion is that this was all started by people like Peter Mandelson and the Blairites, because they wanted McSweeney, who was their guy, to find a new candidate who could become Prime Minister.
Right.
He found Keir Starmer, right? And then
he just found him one day.
Yeah. Well, he looked around and went, David Lammy? No, I don't think so.
No.
Rachel Reeves? Nah,
eating the whole time.
Really.
She can't add up.
Andy Burnham? No, thanks.
No.
So they settled on Starmer because they thought he's easy to manipulate, because he obviously is, right? So they put him in charge, and then they raised all this money. But instead of actually admitting that they'd raised all this money, they kept it hidden. And £740,000 was raised, which they didn't declare, which is illegal, right? And so Kevin Hollingrake has said today, and this is literally just in the last hour, the cover-up of the dodgy backroom deal between Morgan McSweeney and Keir Starmer to install him as Labour leader goes deeper than anyone imagined. Today, we are presenting new evidence that shows Keir Starmer is complicit in this entire operation, right? This is not going away.
No.
As the Conservatives already exposed, Keir Starmer has never declared any of the support his leadership campaign received from McSweeney's organisation Labour Together. Labour say there's nothing to see here and that there was no involvement. But today, we can reveal this was another lie. It was confirmed in 2023 that Morgan McSweeney was seconded from Labour Together to be campaign director for Starmer. So,
I mean,
it stinks to high heaven.
You know, when we talk about, like, optics and you know, they came to power, we were doing the shows, and they came to power because of the mess and the British people stopped listening to the Tories, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying I believe them, but he talked about, you know, decent government, honest government, working people, growth.
Transparency.
What a load of I mean, it is unbelievably so. Does anybody, do you think, in your experience as a journalist and a broadcaster, does anybody sit right now in Number 10 going, geez, this is awful? Or do they genuinely still believe that people, everyday working people, don't think this is the biggest con
I think
government
they know they're in a lot
ever?
of trouble. I think they know they're in a lot of trouble. Absolutely right. Well, Pat McFadden, who was sent out today, again, not on my show.
Is that the attack? He doesn't look like an attack dog to me, Pat McFadden.
But he is their kind of guy that kills stories. They send him out when they're in trouble.
Right.
So that he is the guy, because they think that he's a bit of an enforcer and that journalists are a bit frightened of him. I mean, I'm not. Last time he came on my show, I asked him if it was a hypocritical thing to do to move from one house to another house next door, which he rented in order not to have to miss out on claiming money.
What did he say?
He said, everything I did was within the rules. I said,
Where's
well, that's not really the point, Scotland.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes,
and I said, and he said, everything I did was in the rules, and that's the problem with these people.
And then they won't come on again.
And he hasn't been on since. Sure. But they also think that because it was within the rules, there was nothing wrong with it, except that it's a creepy, treacherous, awful, dishonest thing to do. Especially when you're trying to make out that you're not a hypocrite.
I was just as an overview before we let you go. You look at this government. We're talking about Ed Davey on Plank of the Week. I mean, he's got Farage derangement syndrome 32 times. You look at it all, and you just think, Nigel Farage doesn't even... very soon it's going to be a bit like Starmer.
Yeah.
After the just don't say anything.
Right.
I mean, he will, because he's got stuff to say, but I just don't get how it can be so bloody awful.
I know.
Every day, stories, everyday cock-ups. Now Morgan McSweeney, migrants getting Mercedes, money in their back pocket, old people not allowed to heat their homes, veterans on the streets. Yeah. But we're looking... mate, they just... Are they thick? Genuinely, are they thick?
I think they're just arrogant, and I think they're out of touch. And I think the more they go into places like Downing Street and the more into government they get, the more out of touch they are. And so they were out of touch pretty well in July of last year when they got elected. Now they're even worse.
It's true what that guy, I always tell the story, but the KC that helped me, in my case, the defamation one, said I represent lots of MPs. And he said to me, and I'll never forget it, he said the only difference between the Labour and Tory, he said they're all in it for something. The Tories like rent boys and cocaine.
Yeah.
And that Labour are obsessed with money. They are. Working people who they think they've made it, and they're obsessed with getting whatever they can from it.
And they love the high life, and they love hanging around with rich people, which is why Mandelson ended up, hanging about with Jeffrey Epstein. David Lammy likes flying around on private jets, eating banquets, every single night. They just love being feted and being looked after and being treated as if they're somebody special. They're not somebody special. They're nobody.
I ask you every week for reasons, see if your opinion's changed. Does Keir Starmer make it to Christmas?
I don't think so.
Not to Christmas?
I don't think so. I think
genuinely.
I think this is it. I think this,
Do you?
This Labour Together thing, because the way the Tories are going after it, and I think they're doing it really cleverly and really well. They're just little drips at a time.
She's had a better couple of weeks, Badenoch, has she?
Well, she had a good day when Peter Mandelson was the focus of the last Prime Minister's questions, and she actually went for the jugular and she got Keir Starmer to look really, really weak, and of course famously got him to say that he had full confidence in the ambassador. Might as well have had a tray of those chocolates that you hang out. You're spoiling me, Mr. Ambassador, with your lies. And what? The next day he was gone.
Yeah.
So
he's shown total confidence.
But she again. I mean, I was only listening the other day to a Tory MP who said, "Oh, well, wait for conference and you'll get some Kemi Badenoch ideas." Well, we haven't got time to wait for conference.
The problem,
you need to get on with it.
What Farage has done, he's ahead of all of them, isn't he? And he's spoken sooner than them.
Of course he has.
Very quickly, one final mention: Ed Davey. Because you don't think he'll lead the Liberal Democrats into the next election, do you? Do you not think somewhere in his party people are going, "You're such a figure of fun, mate"?
Well, no, you see, the thing is, there will be people in political circles, where the Lib Dems are concerned, that think he's a genius because he got them 70-odd seats. But what is he doing with it? He's not doing anything with it, really, is he? He's got 72 seats. I don't know what any of his policies are. No. He very rarely stands up in Parliament and says anything interesting.
Unless he's dressed in a sort of outfit.
Yeah, he's got marching band around him, like a
rubber nose
band. He might as well have the big shoes, just put a stupid hat on.
You said on Plank, you went, why is he wearing a tight white shirt? He's got such a big fat gut.
He has. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So, the guy is a joke, but the Lib Dems are a joke. They've always been a joke.
Listen, you're great. We've had a great day. We appreciate everything. You're back in the morning and you know what's coming. What's on the show?
No idea. No.
More fun and frolics. Mike Graham back with Morning Glory tomorrow from 6. It's Talk Drive.
we've sent 3 back in an exchange scheme with France. Up to 31,000 have arrived just this year, and that's just the ones we know about on the boats. Doesn't include the people on lorries or all the people who've overstayed their visas. He's right, isn't he?
I'm not sure he is.
Which bit is wrong?
Well, he's quite unpopular in America on immigration.
No, he's not. His immigration policies are wildly popular.
No, they're not. The most recent polling, this is out this week, he is -11 on immigration.
Remember the case of the man who violently attacked a protester who was burning a Quran, shouting F Islam, outside the Turkish consulate in London to...
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
MG back tomorrow morning from 6. Kev is here with his political asylum from 7 o'clock. We've got loads to do. Sport on the way, and in the next hour, just loads and loads of people with great opinions. The main news stories of the day: migrants, taxes, migrants, £2,000, whatever you want to talk about. 0344 499 1000 will get you on in the next hour on Talk Drive. Amy, come on, push the button.
Sports news from The Sun.
We are saying a very good evening to Dean Scoggins. How are you, Dino?
I'm OK,
Who
thank
do you
you.
support again?
Pardon?
Who do you support again?
I'm a Tottenham fan.
So my mate Dave and I have this bet, right? And the bet is we have a certain amount of money, 25 quid, on the game, because I'm West Ham, he's Tottenham. If your team wins, you're 25 quid up. If the other team wins, the other person wins it. A draw on either side doesn't matter. I'm having an absolute nightmare. He texts me on Saturday and goes, "You're 2-0 down to Brighton, and West Ham have just put the ball in the net." 10 minutes later. Tottenham look good under Thomas Frank.
They do, yeah. And your boys have got to face Moisey on Monday night.
I said it yesterday. David Moyes will beat West Ham, stick his 2 fingers up quite rightly, because he was fantastic, and Graham Potter will go.
That could be the end of Potter, yes.
I think he'll be absolutely right. Justin, this is brilliant. Thank you for starting. I don't know what is it? Which number Ryder Cup? Do we know? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
The Ryder Cup this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Bethpage in New York City. Febrile atmosphere it's going to be. This is a great story because Justin Rose has picked up on the fact that Donald Trump went to the Club World Cup final.
Chelsea fan Justin Rose as well.
Jumped straight on the stage and they were all looking again, what are you doing here? Justin Rose had a bit of fun today. What did he say?
Well, he's basically saying he'd like him back on the stage to present Europe the trophy, obviously, and as if they're up on the stage, I don't think Europe really care if Donald Trump's there or not. But yes, he said, I'd love to have the opportunity for him to be on the stage and congratulating the team that wins in his backyard. So,
to be fair, he says backyard. He doesn't really like New York, does he, Trump, to be fair? Because
not anymore.
No, not the great. But he has some amazing golf courses. Bethpage is do you know this is a public golf course?
It is a public golf course,
but it is probably the hardest golf course in the world. It is going to be an amazing spectacle.
I just think it's incredible that the Europeans, that Trump is going to steal the show in some way. He will be front and centre. They're saying he's not going to be on the tee boxes tomorrow and Saturday, but I wouldn't rule that out.
He's on the tee boxes. Have you seen him though? He's got the world's worst golf swing, but he hits it well.
Yeah, when you have a caddy putting the ball where you want it to, then it's
there is a lot of implication that he's won the last 73 club championships simply because
there's
he
a
owns
great
the
book
course.
called The Commander in Cheat, which is worth a read.
Well, listen, I could tell you many stories and probably get sued. So I'll ask you, like I asked your man yesterday, how'd you see the Ryder Cup going? You going to spend the weekend watching?
Yeah, I will spend the weekend watching, yeah. My wife was very apologetic that she had to take the kids away with her friends, and I said, it's OK, I'll just sit at home
you
and watch
haven't
the
managed to pull that, have you? Have you really?
Yeah, she thought it was bad news for me.
Tell me not. Is she really?
She's taking the kids away on Saturday, yeah, with her friends, so I'll just have to...
When are they back?
They'll be back on Sunday afternoon. But,
oh, my God, I hate you. I've been sitting here all week thinking, how do I sell this to Victoria? And it's not going to wash. Just you work all week.
Sat in my bar watching
Oh, God, it gets worse. How do you see it going? Seriously,
I think it'll be really tight. I think it will go down to the last, the sort of middle group of singles on Sunday. You mentioned the weather just before we came back on air.
Inclement weather.
Yeah, I think that could swing it Europeans.
They're bringing the opening ceremony, which is supposed to be tomorrow, with the golf on Friday to tonight, 9 o'clock tonight. TalkSport will cover that. Then there'll be a day's practice, but it's awful. And then Friday, you can say that about the weather. I've got a feeling that Luke Donald will pack Friday mornings with big names, Rahm and McIlroy straight out, because the one thing you need to do in New York, having lived there, is shut them up. And if they manage to win the first session 3-1, trust me, they will start. Won't
Turn
they?
that crowd and you're halfway there.
Manchester United, an exodus next summer. It could be sooner, couldn't it? Casemiro, what's he on, about 400 grand a week?
Yeah, he's on 300 grand a week and one of their highest earners. He's 34 in February, so he has got an option in his contract. So Samuel Luckhurst is our great new Sun Sports signing. He's our new Manchester United correspondent, so it's great to have him on board, and he's been turning exclusives all week, and this is another one, so they won't take the option for another year on Casemiro. They'd much rather not pay that 300 grand a week and bring in the likes of Brighton's Carlos Baleba instead.
Jadon Sancho, Tyrell Malacia,
they'll
Harry
be gone
Redknapp.
as well.
Harry Redknapp. Harry Maguire, though, could stay.
Yeah, Harry Maguire was really good this weekend against Chelsea. Played really well. And Harry would be a different... I mean, there'd be negotiations over his contract. You'd probably still be able to take a pay cut at Man United and earn more there than anywhere else, I would suggest. So I would think that Harry Maguire will be in talks.
Does a job for you, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Fully committed, and obviously you can call on him whenever you like.
Carlo Ancelotti, his latest autobiography, The Dream Winning the Champions League, the 66-year-old revealed how Russian Roman Abramovich, whilst he was working at Chelsea, was the shadow hanging over him throughout his 2 years at the Bridge. What does that mean?
Yeah, this is great. So Martin Lipton's got this exclusively as a first look at the Carlo book, and so there's a whole chapter on the shadow of Abramovich that came from...
Well, he owned it.
He did, but I think he's intimating that there was a lot more than just ownership influence in what was going on with the team and stuff like that. And to say that it was easier to work with Silvio Berlusconi than it was with
because
Roman
he was
Abramovich.
Abramovich was calling the shots?
Interfering, definite interfering.
But you know my response to that, you probably disagree. Well, don't take your 2-year contract then. Don't take all your money off Abramovich and leave.
Yeah,
What's happened, by the way? You're just asking a journalist a good question. When his assets were frozen and all that money from the sale, that's never been...
Nope, still not resolved. They're still there. They're still accruing interest, which is obviously good. But there's hopefully there'll...
But it's for the Ukrainian people,
It is,
wasn't it?
yeah. So Roman Abramovich wants it fairly shared between Russian and Ukraine, which obviously doesn't go down well here.
No.
But that's his play. But he wants it shared between all people affected by war. There's been a recent play. Hopefully there'll be some of the interest accrued on that goes into grassroots football in this country.
That would be a good idea. So any news on my manager, Graham Potter? Do you, like me, think Monday is it, D-Day, and the ironic fact that David Moyes welcomes West Ham to Everton's new ground, and I think one more defeat and Potter's gone? Because if I was David Moyes, I'd be smiling all over my face.
Yeah, I don't think that the board will take another day at the London Stadium like they had last week if he doesn't get a result on Monday. He needs a result, at least a draw.
Nuno Sanchez.
Nuno's a good bet, I think.
Yeah. Brilliant. Listen, great to have you on, Justin. So you think England? You think GB and Europe will sneak it? What, 14.5, 13.5?
Yeah, I liked 12-1 on the tie, but
12-1 on a tie. Guess what? If it's a tie, we retain the cup.
Exactly, yeah.
14 points is the magical figure to tie, 14.5 to win. Full coverage all weekend on TalkSport and Sky, of course. Thank you to Dean Scoggins. Get the newspaper tomorrow, The Sun. Great exclusives on Manchester United and on Carlo Ancelotti, his new autobiography. We'll talk drive. It's almost 6. We're live across the United Kingdom. If you want to be on in the next hour, it's very simple, my friends. 0344 499 1000, the only number you need. Text to 87222. Start your message with the word talk. News next.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Right, welcome back. 2 minutes past 6. Now, I've been doing this show for a year and a half, and I've always wanted a music bed, so we've got a few choices. Listen to the... Go on, Amy, push the first one. No. No, stop. No. No, stop. Is that the same one? What? Maybe. Third one? No. Do we all think the second one? Third one, right? The women have decided they've got to have a bullet here. Right, so let's do it. So this is Talk, Drive, Go. Ah, can reset. This is Talk, Drive, Go. No? Oh, God, tell me when you're ready. This is Talk, Drive... Right, we're not. Oh, there we go. Welcome back. Third and final hour of Talk Drive for Wednesday. We are live across the United Kingdom here until 7 o'clock. Thanks for tuning in. The home of free speech and common sense. Not too loud because I can't hear myself think. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are listening in the United Kingdom, this is the country that says to people who shouldn't be here, don't you fret, don't you worry. You come here, we'll put you in a hotel, and if you need to see a doctor or go and see somebody about your knee, we'll get you an E-Class Mercedes. We'll send you to wherever you want to go in the United Kingdom, and we, the British taxpayer, will pay for it. And don't you worry, if you do commit a crime, maybe you're Romanian, when you've killed somebody or sexually assaulted somebody or stolen or committed a horrible, horrible, heinous crime and you've been judged to be a criminal, we won't send you to prison. We'll put you with a nice man and lady on the plane, first-class ticket, we'll pay for it, and then we'll give you £2,000 on a credit card because we want to make sure that you're OK, because it's really important that we keep our feelings that the world sees us as so generous, despite the fact that their own people think they're mad. I am surrounded by madness on this show today, and I'm delighted to say a very good afternoon. We haven't had him on the show. I'm delighted. Rafe Heydel-Manku, political commentator, broadcaster, historian, and generally a top man. How are you, sir?
Wonderful to be with you.
Listen, somebody smart with paintings and a bow tie, usually a terrible quality. Rafe, we've worked together enough. I'm not going to apologise for my language. I'm going to try and not lose my whatever. What the hell is happening in a country that used to pride itself on, I don't know, yes, doing the right thing, but being a paragon of virtue and decency and I don't know, a shining light. We now say to people, break in, take from us, go in a hotel, and now we pay them to leave. We get them drivers to take them wherever they want, to the detriment, and I know people hate this word and I'll keep saying it, to the detriment, Rafe, of the indigenous population.
Our institutions are broken. It's as simple as that. We've had a long march through the institutions since the time of Tony Blair. The progressive left captured our institutions, and the people that now run those institutions are cuckoos in the nest. They bear no comparison to the generations who built them and ran them so well in previous generations. And a large part of that is because, of course, we now prioritize identity over excellence and competence in terms of the people who run those institutions as well. I mean, take the Home Office, right? It's the Home Office that has the contracts that are dealing with these millions of pounds worth of taxi rides that are going out. The Home Office is now a fifth column in this country, I would say, that does not actively have the interests of the British nation at heart. You know, they approve far more asylum applications than anyone does in Europe, and they're approving applications that have been rejected by European countries. We need to call out the Home Office. It is not fit for purpose. It should be removed from the entire migrant process and we should give that to another department entirely, because they really have no control about all of this. And it's, you know, it's the indignity and it's the complete lack of understanding of how the British public will feel when they hear that someone has been sent for a £600 return taxi journey for a knee checkup. There was one NHS psychiatrist who said, I've got patients who've been waiting for years for a schizophrenia appointment. £600 would have covered that.
Do you see, this is, and again, apologies, because I do it the whole time, I don't mean to, but Does nobody, I mean, we say glibly, don't we, what, the institutions, you said it, and I know that you know far more than me, you know, institutions have been taken over by these mad people, but does nobody care about the optics, or does nobody to this point really, have they not cared about what I call Joe Public, with the greatest respect, feels? Because as far and as long as I sit here with Mike and the others, right, I out of this bubble, right, there are people all over this country, I know this for a fact, who are going, why have I lived my life correctly and done everything properly and never asked for anything, when it seems that we have a society now that wants to be so apologist in its approach that it, you know, people who commit crime get treated better than the victims. People who come here get treated better than people who have lived here. And I'm all for helping when we can, but we can't afford to do what we can. And I think more so when you are putting your own people at the back of the queue. And I know I keep saying it, Rafe, but it makes perfect sense to me. It seems to me that government, politicians, institutions have forgotten that they got put there by the people who voted for them, the British people.
Exactly right. And this is the crux of the whole issue. This is what sticks in the craw of the British nation. It's the sense of injustice. You know, the most central British quality is a belief in fair play. Yeah. You know, we even have the expression, it's just not cricket. And that's precisely what they can see happening here. You know, they see people who are their family members and their friends who've been on housing waiting lists for years, suddenly leapfrogged over by a family or young men who've just arrived here within the space of a few weeks. They see the queues of the GP appointments. They can't get GP appointments. They see the problem of all of our infrastructure and our public services being strained by things like this. You know, think about cancer patients who are having to play second fiddle to a migrant who's going for a checkup or a scan or whatever. And the problem here, which you've identified, is that this is all about the civil service. Why do they do this? Because they are never held accountable. Politicians will have to bite the bullet and resign if there's a scandal with the civil service. There's no repercussion, no reverberation.
But is it naive? All right, but is it naive of me to want? And maybe Nigel Farage isn't the man, or maybe he is. I've no idea. He's the only one that says he's going to give it a go. Is it naive of me to think, hope I should say again, that I want my politicians to go? This is fundamentally wrong. This isn't even about left or right. This is about British people. This isn't about the colour of your skin. There have been plenty of people who have come to this country for years and worked and built businesses and employed people who I would consider as patriotic, or even more so, or even more annoyed about this than people like me. But is it not time for a politician to say, I'm not worried about the greasy pole or the kickback, Trump-esque maybe. I'm not bothered about what the mainstream media are going to say or what the institutions. I am going to put in front of you a plan. I'm going to work day and night and kick back, and I'll take you on the journey, and I'll tell you the rough, and I'll tell you the good, and I'll tell you the bad, and there'll be good and bad. But you know what? I'm going to give it my utmost, because I believe this country's on a precipice. And if we don't achieve this together, I'll walk, right? But rest assured, I will work 24/7 to implement something you voted for. Why do I not see that or hear that, apart from, at this moment, Nigel Farage?
Well, again, because our politics is broken. There is a uniparty. You can only get a cigarette paper between Labour and the Tories. They may talk tough, but nothing ever gets done. Dominic Cummings was the only person in the Conservative Party who had a plan to reform the civil service. And I've often wondered if he hadn't gone to have his eyes tested at wherever it was he had his eyes tested, and he had been able to implement that civil service reform, how things might have changed. I think reform is very exciting in its plans for change, but even there, the rot is so deep, the big state, the blob, the establishment is so strong in this country that they will try every trick in the book to thwart.
Who are they?
The civil servants, the institutions, all of the support staff, everyone that a politician relies on to enact legislation will be gunning for the party. We saw that happening with the Tories. Yeah. Why weren't they able to actually implement any of their strategies? Why were they blocked at every corner?
Did you, Rafe, think? I mean, I felt very let down by Boris Johnson. I've been very honest, and I'd say it to his face. I believed 100% in him, and I thought it was a changing day when he was elected, and I thought that he would rule for 10 to 15 years, and he fundamentally moved his party to a different position from the party I believed it was. He seemed to concentrate on other things than the promises, the levelling up and the security and all those sorts of things, and I think that's why people were attracted in the first place to Farage, and whether that works or not, I get that. It's just I don't understand how politicians... You know, OK, so you've got 100 civil servants telling you wrong. I'm democratically elected, do it. If you don't do it, then I'll sack you. Then maybe I'm being naive and stupid. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not that easy. But, you know, I'm talking about politicians who did try to get things done. Yeah. Boris Johnson is an entirely different kettle of fish. This was a man who betrayed the British people. This was a man who chose to reinterpret take back control to mean that we can decide how many migrants to come in. That's not what people voted for. People voted to stop illegal immigration, to stop mass migration. And we saw the Boris wave of immigration under Boris Johnson that made Tony Blair's immigration look like a stream. There was a flood of immigration. We had more immigration under Boris Johnson than we'd had for the previous 1,000 years.
Well, it is tonight, by the way, on Harry Cole's show. People, from 10 o'clock, Harry Cole Saves the West. He's got Boris Johnson. First big interview for a long time on our station. Harry Cole from 10 o'clock. And he is asking Boris Johnson those questions. Just a couple of bizarre stories today. When I say bizarre, we've talked about asylum seekers getting taxes. We've talked about £2,000. So Starmer made this big thing today about, you know, it's the latest thing, it's Wednesday. I'm going to reclaim the flag because in his mind, everybody who, you know, waves the flag is presumably far right. Again, missing the point completely. Do you know about this Jeremy Newmark, the Labour leader of Hertsmere? Have you seen this clip? This, if you're tuning in to Talk Drive, is utterly, utterly disgusting. This is Jeremy Newmark, Labour leader of Hertsmere Council, standing up and slagging off a group that want to reclaim their flag. Have a listen, have a watch.
Operation Raise the Colours, an organised and orchestrated attempt by a bunch of criminals, extremists, nonces, to hijack our national flag.
Rafe, can you help me out? I can't. I mean, that's beyond the pale, isn't it?
What a vile, despicable cretin he is. Let's make no bones about this. So many on the left loathe the flag, loathe patriotism. Remember Lady Nugent, Emily Thornberry, in that tweet she put out of an English flag flying from a house with a white van in it. The sneering condescension towards that. Remember what George Orwell said? He said an intellectual would rather be caught stealing from a church poor box than standing up for the national anthem. You know, the decent people of England, they should regard this as a slap in the face. They've come out on the streets to raise the flag, not in an act of aggression, not in an act of bombastic jingoism. It's the act of a community that feels threatened. Yeah. And they genuinely feel that they are losing their English identity. So when they're flying the flag, it's not far right. It's being flown almost as a symbol of distress, to rally the people at a time of peril. And this is a situation entirely created by the British establishment, by the left, by this metropolitan liberal elite. I mean, the reality is that for the past quarter of a century, the English have been betrayed and abandoned by their leaders, by people like Starmer and this vile cretin in this council, and they've been failed and mistreated by their institutions. You know, we've seen English identity being attacked and traduced, English history, English culture, British history, British culture denigrated, undermined, whilst other identities are being celebrated. And we've seen minority cultures deliberately elevated over the predominant British culture, and that sticks in the craw.
I couldn't agree more, and I think it's very... I was sitting here listening to that, and vile cretin's a great description, thinking, can you imagine if somebody on the right actually said something like that about, I don't know, a group on the left, you know, people celebrating whatever. It's extraordinary, isn't it? I wanted to get your take on another week of brilliance for Keir Starmer. Yesterday was a low point in my life. Sunday he'd recognised Palestine. We all know that simply because he's trying to make sure the Muslim vote doesn't abandon him as his popularity ebbs away. But then he did something yesterday that I thought was as nauseating as anything. you know, Rosh Hashanah, religious festival day for the Jewish people. Out comes this message on X saying, I love all Jewish people and happy this, and we're all together and they're hostages and blah, blah, blah. And you end up looking at that and thinking, there's nothing tangible I can put my hat on, but I don't ever believe the directions that you go in. How did you receive the news about, you know, recognising Palestine and then his embrace of Judaism not?
Well, it just goes to show you that this man has absolutely no political acumen. He's got no political instinct. I mean, this man is not a politician. He's a career prosecutor, and he's an automaton. You can see that he's completely devoid of emotion, not to understand how this would go down with the Jewish community. Look, it's quite clear that, you know, Britain, Canada and Australia, all now run by centre-left parties, have now recognised Palestine. That wouldn't have happened if you had the Tories in Canada, the Liberals in Australia, and, say, Reform in this country. Unfortunately, we've had this happen. They have rewarded Hamas for the vile atrocities of October the 7th. That's the message that Hamas and others extremists are taking. If you do this sort of a thing, you will get what you want in the end. And now, of course, we've lost a major bargaining chip in terms of trying to get the hostages back, in terms of trying to work towards a two-state solution. We had that thing about being able to offer as a carrot the recognition of the state of Palestine, all gone. And it will be seen as a slap in the face by the Jewish community in this country, whether or not they agree with what's happening, the ghastly incidents happening in Gaza. That's irrelevant. They can see where clearly the loyalties of people like Stam now lie.
Couldn't agree more. Finally, how can we do a whole section with you without mentioning one of you're a big fan of Sadiq Khan, aren't you, Rafe? Trump yesterday, I mean, this was absolutely, look, let's get out the Sharia law thing. Let's move aside a couple of comments like the paracetamol, autism. Amazing, no teleprompter. The FBI, by the way, looking into people who might have stopped the elevator. That's how much in control he is. But he basically slagged most of the UN. He destroyed net zero, which I applauded loudly. And then he turned to Sadiq Khan, called him the worst leader in the world, said London is a hellhole, knife crime and crime. This man is the worst mayor. Trump today, according to Sadiq Khan, is racist, sexist and Islamophobic. And London is a brilliant city, safer than most major US cities, and we continue to welcome thousands, hundreds of thousands of Americans every single year. Sadiq Khan.
Sadiq Khan is a liar, first and foremost. London is not safer than many or most major US cities. In terms of homicide, London is safer. But he's a liar otherwise, because did you know that the violent crime rate in London is larger than New York and Chicago combined?
Wow.
It's 900 per 100,000 in London. It's 491 per 100,000 in New York. It's something like 300 or 100 in Chicago, right? So this now, can you believe that London is now more dangerous than New York and Chicago combined? Listen, this man talks about racism. Look, you know, judge a person by the company he keeps. Remember, Sadiq Khan was a solicitor for the Nation of Islam in 2001, 2002. That's the group run by Louis Farrakhan, a vile anti-Semite black nationalist Muslim who described Jews as bloodsuckers and called Hitler a very great man. And Sadiq Khan tried to overturn the ban on preventing him coming into this country. Sadiq Khan is the man when he was a lawyer for the Muslim Council of Britain who defended the vile Muslim scholar Dr. Yusuf al-Qaradawi, saying that he's not an extremist. This is a man who justifies wife beatings, discusses whether homosexuals should be killed, justifies suicide bombings. That's the sort of company that he keeps, let alone the fact, of course, that he has essentially allowed Sharia courts to act in this country. Yes, Trump was wrong by saying that Sharia courts are being introduced into London, but there is subtle Sharia existing in this city. Remember the Muslim patrol in East London that was patrolling and had declared East London a Sharia zone, was recording and attacking and shouting at women who were drinking alcohol, couples holding hands, gay men holding hands, attacking Muslim shop owners who sold alcohol. Sharia is present. We have 85 Sharia courts in this country. Many of them are in London. A third of Muslims want Sharia law. in this country. Britain is now the Western leader for Sharia, and other countries are coming here to learn how to export Sharia to those countries. So don't take pay any heed to what Sadiq Khan knows. He tries to portray himself as this progressive centre-left soft Labour person. He's far more close to Jeremy Corbyn. Remember, he nominated Jeremy Corbyn to become leader of the Labour Party, and the fact that his biggest supporters are people like those other nutcases on the left, Diane Abbott and Dawn Butler and Owen Jones, tells you exactly where his politics are.
Listen, it is absolutely great to have you, and you'll come back, won't you? We want you on regularly, Rafe. Really good to have you. Don't forget as well, fellow at the New Culture Forum, excellent organisation, Rafe Heydel-Manku. Thank you very much indeed. Being on Drive Time, 6:22, live across the UK. We get some calls on. We've gone mad today. Crazy number of calls. 0344 499 1000 with some texts as well. And we've got a new presenter, talk presenter Peter Cardwell coming on next. He's going to talk about his new show next February. Back in 3.
I have confidence in the Conservatives, and I have confidence in the energy and combativeness of Kenny.
But the public don't seem to be. The public don't seem to agree with you.
Let's see. Let's see.
Jack, just quickly tell us what Sunday looks like. It's remarkable.
It's going to be unlike anything that's ever been held before. It's bigger than a Super Bowl.
It's now Raw soap opera meets the Epstein files.
Prince Andrew's ties to Epstein already represent one of the monarchy's greatest reputational meltdowns.
Jeffrey Epstein is continuing to haunt the royal family from beyond the grave.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
6:26, we're live across the United Kingdom. Talk Drive Wednesday. Kev here from 7. On the way, an exclusive Harry Cole Saves the West. Brand new show, fantastic as well, on weekday nights at 10 o'clock on Talk. He will speak exclusively to Boris Johnson. That will be on at 10. I'll play a clip in just a tick. I've got loads of texts as well. Oh, it's then. Right, listen, here we go. This is an exclusive. Harry Cole Saves the West tonight on YouTube, on Talk, an exclusive chat with Boris Johnson. Here is a snippet, my friends.
I have confidence in the Conservatives, and I have confidence in the energy and combativeness of Kemi.
But the public don't seem to be. The public don't seem to agree with you right now.
Let's see.
But Farage is quite an operator, though, isn't he?
I think. Well, you know, my concerns, as I say, and they're serious concerns, are about the approach to the economy of the Reform Party and the approach on national security. And I think both of those will be severely tested in the years ahead, and people will actually want serious answers. And I think that the answers are going to be Conservative answers.
So Farage is either a joke or a threat to national security, or both? Which one is it?
I think, as I say, I think there are two real priorities for us now. The number one is the economy, and making sure that we shrink the size of the state and public spending.
It's not a question I asked, but is Nigel Farage a threat?
And the second,
You're saying it's a threat to national security.
The second is defence and national security, and the threat of Russia. And on both of those, I have very serious anxieties.
And Nigel Farage is a threat to national security.
I have serious anxieties. I'm putting it in Diplo speak, right? I have serious anxieties.
You're a former journalist. I want it as an intro, not diplomatic waffle.
Good, listen, it's going to be great. Harry on absolute fire. Mikey was in on that show as well, Mike Graham, and he said that Harry Cole absolutely on fire. Can't wait to see that. The whole interview with Boris Johnson. Now, I'm being completely serious. I wish I'd seen him in the corridor. I was a massive Boris Johnson fan. I extolled his virtues. I thought he would rule for 10 years, and I think he let the British people down. And I think a lot of the problems that we have had were exaggerated under Boris Johnson. You saw him there refusing to ask the question. They won't mention Farage, any of them. They're terrified, aren't they? But an exclusive interview, a brilliant interview. Well done, Harry. He's on tonight, 10 o'clock. Harry meets Boris. There could be a film in it. 0344 499 1000. Gaynor. Jez, the only thing we should be giving the illegal migrants on the plane home is a criminal record for breaking into our bloody country illegally and a £2,000 fine to pay. Michael Anstey. If these immigrants are happy to come here, why are they not happy to this flag that is now flying looking after them? Very interesting. Jackie, good afternoon. Jez, will someone please tell this charlatan of a PM that the Union flag is not his to reclaim? It belongs to all of us. That's interesting, Jackie. How dare you be so right-wing. Christian England. All this Farage bashing is clearly showing that everyone's got no chance of stopping reform getting to be the next government. I've never voted Labour. I never will. But I will. If I were them, I'd call a general election now. I'd maximise damage limitation because the way they're going, the inevitable is coming to bite them. Pete, that bloke calling patriots nonsense, he's playing a dangerous game by insulting so many decent people with false accusations. Hopefully everybody will sue him. I'll go further, Pete. Hopefully they'll vote him out. His name's Jeremy Newmark. He's the head of Hertsmere Council, Labour leader. Outrageous. Anna from Sweden. Jeremy Kyle, future Home Secretary, dream. Sally from the Isle of Wight. As I understand it, you cannot claim asylum whilst at sea. Why don't they? Oh, this is what I've said. Why don't they transfer illegal migrants directly onto another boat? Surely there's an old cruise ship lying around that they could move to be updated. You could be processed offshore. No need for any accommodation and then get sent to a detention centre. Nancy is in Wales, which in itself is quite brave. Whilst I like a sense of humour and ridicule on our judiciary, regarding the fish and chips for the migrant, these matters are serious. They are damaging our country, our self-worth and our lifestyle. It's not always funny. These issues affect us every day, and to be frank, we are getting really angry about them. Some level of annoyance, frustration surely must be reported, unless you are in agreement, of course. Couldn't agree more. Dean from Dagenham. Afternoon, Jez. We can all say what we should do about the illegals and legal migration, but unless those in Parliament and the establishment want this problem solved, nothing will happen. They have no intention. Hayley is in Carshalton. I have a very high pain threshold, but 2k for the illegals, so I'm sure we'll be delighted and use part of it to come back again. And for all those gifts, and I am so angry, it's doing my head in. Why is our Prime Minister so stupid? And finally, Jeff. Good afternoon, Jeremy. Every £300 taxi journey is one OAP's winter fuel allowance. This is utterly, utterly disgusting. It's 6:31. I, at the age of 60, having done this job for 30 years, am nothing but a precursor to the main drive time talent of the week. On a Thursday and Friday, this show is taken over expertly by a broadcaster on whom I am merely a pimple on the backside of his talent. A very good afternoon to Peter Cardwell. Sir, it's good to have you on.
What an intro. Wow. My goodness, Jeremy.
Thank you very much for joining us today. We begged you to come on and we're very grateful to have you on, sir. And as my career disappears into the sort of the sunset, the autumn of my career.
Like the sun, you're eternal, Jeremy.
Eternal. I was trying to think of a song there, B.B. Winans. How are you anyway? Apparently I'm going to be Home Secretary next.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think I should stand then, Peter Cardwell?
I think you'd be an amazing Home Secretary. Life wouldn't be dull for anyone.
The Right Honourable Gentleman's a tosser. Can you imagine? It'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? You'd love it, wouldn't you? Pete, I'm looking forward to the show tomorrow and Friday and next February when you're on. But let's talk about today, because I don't think I said it earlier to people, I do not want to come here every day and be as agitated and angry as we are getting on this station, but it is getting to a point where I've heard about the blob and I've heard about establishment and I've heard about, it's important we're caring and sharing. Does anybody in Westminster think it would be salient to get off their backsides and go north, south, east and west and ask hard-working, normal British people what they think, what message it sends for illegal migrants to be ferried by E-Class Mercedes to the tune of hundreds of pounds to go and see a doctor that a tax-paying person hasn't got a hope in hell of seeing? The optics, like giving £2,000 to convict you. Pete, it's disgusting, man, and it's got to stop, and I don't know how it will, but I know the British people, they're not going to accept this ever, never.
I totally agree. It's just not fair. There are people who pay their taxes, who go out to work every day, who want to see a GP, who want to make sure that they can spend as much of their own money as they can without it being taxed to such a high degree. And they can't do that because these things are happening all the time. It is just absurd when you say, oh, right, well, we're going to transfer an asylum seeker many, many hundreds of miles. Why not see a GP more nearby? Why are they here in the country in the first place? Why isn't the processing happening? It's everything all at once together that is happening here, and these absurdities, including ferrying them such a huge a large way in taxis, is just a ridiculous.
I just don't know how, Pete, I just don't know how we got to this point, because the basis of talk, I was talking to you about this the other day, is common sense. It doesn't mean that we're always right, but where is the common sense when a country is skint to spend money ferrying illegal people to the detriment, and I know people get annoyed and I don't say it to wind up the people that it winds up, to the detriment of your indigenous population, because that's the truth.
Well, you're absolutely right, and the fact is that if you're registered with a GP, you've no right to necessarily be ferried there. And there are many people who spend lots of money on taxis, on tubes, on trains, whatever it is, to go to where they need medical attention. There are people who say, right, I'll go to a hospital that's out of my area because I can get my knee replacement faster. Well, that accommodation for maybe relatives who need to stay near with you, well, you pay that yourself, or the transportation, you'll pay that yourself. It is ludicrous that these people are getting what they're getting, and they probably find it ludicrous too. They're probably laughing at the fact that we are in a strange, weird situation where the taxpayer is paying for all of this. Imagine what's going through the heads of those people sitting in those taxis, in the back of those taxis, thinking, I'm only going for a GP's appointment, which may only last a few minutes. Why on earth are they ferrying me such a long way away? Why can't I have a GP nearby if I need medical attention? It is absurd, especially as there's so many people who can't get a local GP, who are paying to go privately because they're making the sacrifice to do that if it's just an appointment or something like that. They're finding the money in order to do that, and they're not being treated as well as people who've contributed absolutely nothing.
I tell you what, people can sit and they can talk and they can pontificate, but this is not going away. Now, I'm going to throw a few quick stories at you because I want to see. We've got matching. Is that white or pink, that shirt?
It's pink. It's pink today. On Wednesdays we wear pink.
Yes. Really? How's your book sales going?
It's all right, actually. Yeah, seems to be going okay.
34. That's good.
34.
Right. I'm going to pay you a clip by well, in the words of Rafe, a vile cretin of a man, Jeremy Newmark, who's the Labour leader of Hertsmere Borough Council, who today was asked a question by, I believe, a Conservative or Reform councillor as to why, you know, we weren't proud of the flag. Peter Cardwell, have you seen this?
I've seen a bit of it, but
this is utterly disgusting. This is his response to raising the flag.
Operation Raise the Colours, an organised and orchestrated attempt by a bunch of criminals, extremists, nonces, to hijack our national flag.
Pete, can I just ask you something? Because Jeremy Newmark should be fired instantly. Can you imagine anybody on the right using language like that against a group? I think that is utterly ludicrous, man. Nonsense.
I think there would be a huge outcry if that happened. I think it's totally unfair to say what he said. And if people want to raise the flag, whether they're part of this particular group or not, they should do it. They should be proud of their flag. It's not for him to say who can or cannot be proud of a flag. It's not for him to say who can raise it or not raise it. We know Keir Starmer is going to talk about this later in the week, about reclaiming the flag. Well, the flag doesn't need to be claimed from anybody. The flag is what people want it to be. Yes, some people exploit it and use it for reasons that they shouldn't, but that doesn't denigrate the flag. The flag of England or the flag of the United Kingdom should be flown by whoever wants to fly it with pride. This guy really needs to take a look at himself. He needs to take a look at the language he's using, the words he's using, and if he can't back that up, well, he's in serious trouble.
Couple of things politically for you. Morgan, sorry, I do this all the time because I think he sounds like he should be in Pirates of the Caribbean. Morgan McSweeney, the Chief of Staff of Keir Starmer, is sort of in the poo a little bit. £700,000 sort of donations, an admin error. They sent out Pat McFadden, the enforcer, this morning on the round of interviews. He didn't convince me in any which way. This is Starmer's Chief of Staff. It was a fund that was set up, or money was sent to an organisation trying to get Starmer elected. Then they got wrapped on the knuckles by the Electoral Commission. Kevin Hollingray, the Tory party chairman, today wants a police investigation. Mike is convinced that this runs a lot deeper, that this could be the final nail in Starmer's coffin. But today Keir Starmer said he had full confidence in Morgan McSweeney. Can I point out that 2 weeks ago on a Wednesday he said, I've got total confidence in Angela Rayner. By Friday, gone. The following week, Wednesday, Peter Mandelson, I've got total confidence. By Friday, gone. Jack Elsom at The Sun said he disagrees, that Starmer would never get rid of Morgan McSweeney because he knows too much. What are your thoughts?
I think Starmer is many things, but one thing he definitely is utterly ruthless. And if his position personally is threatened by this, he will get rid of Morgan McSweeney. So I agree with Jack Elsom on that. Saying that, Morgan McSweeney...
Jack said he won't get rid of him. He said he won't.
No, I think he would. I think he would if he needed to. The thing is that Morgan McSweeney basically created Keir Starmer. He actually decided in a group that they needed to find a politician to bring the sort of anti-Corbyn project forward. But the last thing I ever want to happen, if Keir Starmer, I don't think he's going to do it, but if Keir Starmer ever expresses full confidence in either one of you or me, yes, well, we should just make our retirement plans immediately.
Well, yeah, precisely. I mean, it's happening already for me. And also, finally, the joy of the week. Well, it wasn't the joy of the week. We had, well, it was, and I'm not going to lie, apart from the Sharia law comment, I thought what Donald Trump, and you know about the elevator in the United Nations where Donald Trump, it didn't work? The FBI are now investigating the people who stopped it, which I love. But Donald Trump yesterday, it was quite simply the biggest takedown I've ever seen of an organisation that we know is pretty pointless, the UN. There were a few things thrown in there that, you know, you go, all right, Donald, you know, a bit like paracetamol and autism. But he as usual, saved a lot of his ire for the wonderful Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan. Khan has responded today by calling Donald Trump a racist, sexist, Islamophobic, well, I'm not going to say the next word. This feud continues. Where do you sit on this, Peter Cardwell?
I think Sir Sadiq, Knight of the Realm, is an idiot. I think he's a dreadful politician. I think Donald Trump has won President of the United States twice. He clearly doesn't like Sir Sadiq And I think a lot of his criticisms, not all of them, but a lot of them, are absolutely reasonable. I think Sadiq Khan is cynical. I think he is someone who does things that he shouldn't do. I think he could be a much better mayor of London, and I think London has declined under his watch. Donald Trump isn't my favourite politician, but nonetheless, he has many successes under his belt, and I think that a lot of the criticisms he had of the United Nations, especially in regard to the Middle East, were absolutely valid.
Do you know, I do love talking to you. You bring a degree of balance, well, not balance, you just bring a degree of intelligence to this show. Do you know what I mean? So what can we expect, apart from a far better approach to the last couple of days, 3 days? Drive time, I'll do it for you. Drive time with Peter Cardwell, Thursday and Friday from 4. Have you got a music bed, by the way?
I do have a music bed.
See, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. I've done this for 30 years. It's only now I realise that I'm the only one that I don't have a music bed. Why don't I have a music bed?
Do you want one? I'm sure Tech Up Dave and the people behind the scenes could sort you out with one.
They can't. They can't. There's no budget. I took it all on salary. Anyway, what's coming up on the show for the next couple of days, buddy?
Well, we'll cover all the news and politics, and a very interesting one on Friday. We've got the former head of Mossad, the Israeli spy agency. We've got the former head of Mossad is going to be live in the studio.
Why is that making you laugh? Why is that happening?
It's just really random, and it's going to be brilliant. I'm reading his book at the moment, and he's going to be live in the studio. It's going to be really interesting.
So did you arrange this interview yourself? I mean, if you checked with Jodie, because Jodie is in charge, you know, this week. It's an
Jodie is in charge. She is she who must be obeyed. And
girl power, by the way. We've got Faith. She's brilliant. Do you get cookies?
You gotta have faith. You gotta have faith.
All right, George. Did you get a cookie with your afternoon tea? Because I did.
A cookie with my afternoon tea?
Yeah. I get.
Oh, you have biscuits though. You have special biscuits that you make them pay for, even though you're.
Sorry. I have special biscuits. Why do I have special biscuits?
Well, I don't have special biscuits. I don't get the biscuits, but you have particular biscuits that you get that the people who earn a lot less money than you pay for. You don't even pay for the biscuits.
But before you don't say that I'm a normal person, did you hear what I did this week? I went on the tube yesterday with Mike Graham.
What? You're on the tube like a real person?
Yeah.
Like an ordinary human being?
It was wonderful. This man went, that's Jeremy Kyle, and his wife went, sorry, that's Jeremy Kyle. And I went, she can't hear you because of the noise, and now he's really embarrassed, and that was it. It was fun. Anyway, listen, we're looking forward to the show, my friend, and the girls are delighted to have you here. They always say that Thursday and Friday is so much better. Thanks for being on, my friend. Good lad. The amazingly talented, brilliantly cheap Peter Cardwell here tomorrow on Talk Drive, where it is almost 7:15.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
To 7, are you pushing a button? There's no button. We're looking at tomorrow's paper. The legendary Will Barker, Deputy Head of News at The Sun. How are you, sir?
I'm very well. Yeah.
There's a queue outside the door to follow John Lucas. They're all there. He was quite restrained this week.
Was he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Oh. He had quite a hard day yesterday. I think he was a bit tired after the end.
Jodie, they all go, oh, John's coming on the show. Like this. Honestly, it's absolutely unbelievable. If they knew the truth about him, eh?
Well, I can't possibly tell you.
Journalists never talk about fellow journalists. The Sun tomorrow, following very much what we've done. Foreign criminals are being given £2,000 cash bungs to leave the country without a legal fight. Bung them out.
Yes. So turns out we can get rid of a few people that we want to, but we have to pay them to get rid of them.
Romanian offenders, 42 of them, were removed this week. There was about 20 staff. We're buying the seat, but we're also saying thank you so much for killing people, raping people and stealing from us, but here's £2,000 on a credit card because we want to make sure that when you get home you're okay. Somebody said to me, so that'd be quite interesting, wouldn't it? Take your £2,000 because you can come back again, by the way, right? Pay 1,500 quid. It's £500 a week to do the trip. It's just crazy. Awful, man, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, yes, it's these ITV report. We've got a good breakout on this, but we also got incredible. I can't go into this too much, but we've got an incredible
great front page tomorrow.
Got an incredible case study of an Afghan who comes over on a small boat.
Don't give the story away, but I'll
do it very briefly.
All right.
Claims asylum.
Yeah.
Then goes back to Afghanistan on holiday, and he's now back in this country again.
Oh, God. So when you people think it's just us, the Sun, brilliant work. Tomorrow, front page. Also, Wayne Rooney, this exclusive. Colleen saved me. Wayne Rooney has insisted he would be dead if it wasn't for his wife, Colleen, who he says saved him from alcoholism.
Yeah, so over the years, I've done a lot of Wayne Rooney up to no good stories, or rather going off the rails stories. Yeah. And Colleen's always stuck by him and has always been like a rock for him. Always forgiven him for all the bad things he's done. And in this sort of post-football world, I think he's been really good. He's been on all these podcasts. He's sort of like tackling all these misdemeanors.
I know them a little bit.
Yeah, and he's just kind of accepting it all, and he's sort of just shrugging it off. And he's
Can I say about him, right? I thought he was an amazing footballer. Where he came from and what he achieved and what he was paid and everything. I'm not sticking up for him. He made mistakes. We've all made mistakes, but. Not easy, by the way.
No.
The attraction of everything. She used to be slagged a lot, Colleen, right? Genuinely loves him and is genuine. I think it's a great story.
Yeah,
it's a good story.
Well, it's in this podcast. He's spoken at length about how he. So we've done a great spread on that tomorrow.
Dead and they partied on. This is going to happen to me with my children. What is this about?
Well, I don't know if you've ever been to Turkey. I've taken the family off to Turkey, and
I had my teeth done in England. Go on, crack on.
I couldn't. Yeah. Okay. We go to Turkey quite a lot. Whenever you go to any resort in Turkey, they have these pirate ships. You go on the pirate ships, and they do all sorts of things. You go and scuba dive, and this is a tragic, awful story. A big family go out there. Peter Coville goes off to Alanya, gets on one of these pirate ships, 200 quid a pop. They stop and start snorkeling. Very sadly, he passes away in the water, gets into trouble. They haul him out, and then they carry on partying around him. They cover him up with a blanket. Obviously, the family have now come back and are absolutely furious, and are trying to get some money out of them.
That's absolutely outrageous. So they just cut... The daughter, who witnessed it, just said, unbothered and clearly staffable, just stood there watching.
Yeah.
It's a great story, though, isn't it? I hope the family gets some justice. Too clever by half. Carrying a pub chat is a sign of intelligence, say scientists. What does that mean?
Well, it means Sarge and I went out to the pub last night.
Didn't Jodie go with you? Go on.
No, just the two of us. Yeah. And we had a really great chat. And it turns out that means we're really bright.
Why?
Because scientists have found if you can carry out a high-level conversation in a very busy environment like a pub, it means, yeah, they've found out that you're very very intelligent.
Can you, when you're in a conversation, say you're in a pub, can you be talking to somebody and listening to two other conversations at the same time?
It's one of those journalist things. I'm so nosy.
See, that's a
I'm all over the...
Journalists and women can do that, can't they? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Great. So big exclusive on the front of the Sun tomorrow around migration. Lots on that bunging out. A foreign criminal's getting £2,000 and the taxi story, of course, today, which is absolutely outrageous. Great about Wayne Rooney, been slagged off a lot. I'm a big fan of him and Colleen. He says she saved me. Alcoholism, 39-year-old Wayne. I think it was on Rio Ferdinand's podcast, wasn't it? That terrible story in Turkey. Hope that the Cardwell family gets some justice. And if you can go to a pub and have a conversation intelligently and listen to other things, it means you're super clever and you could get a job at the Sun newspaper.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. We thank you as ever. Personally, I think you're better than Lucas, because all that happens with Lucas, they all go, oh, John's in. Do you want to... Does anybody help you with your microphone? They get in water.
No, I just get kicked in.
Yeah, you poor bugger. Will Barker, thank you so much indeed. Deputy Head of News at the Sun. Buy that tomorrow. What is it? 8 minutes to 7. We're back in 3.
It's remarkable.
It's going to be unlike anything that's ever been held before. It's bigger than a Super Bowl.
It's now Raw soap opera meets the Epstein files.
Prince Andrew's ties to Epstein already represent one of the monarchy's greatest reputational meltdowns.
Jeffrey Epstein is continuing to haunt the royal family from beyond the grave.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Kev here at 7 o'clock, and don't forget Harry Cole saves the West, that exclusive with Boris Johnson from 10 o'clock tonight, only here on Talk on YouTube. Steve, they need £2,000 to pay for the boat back. Sir Starling is not stupid. Joanna from Salisbury, maybe Morgan McSweeney like Mandelson knows where the bodies are buried if Starmer throws him under the bus. Trump yesterday, they tried to stop his speech and ended up with more than they bargained for. Serves them bloody right. Lovely. Hello to Richard. Let's get it right. Khan is just a race-baiting waste of oxygen and will soon be irrelevant, and he knows it. Even even though he'd never admit it. It's actually quite funny. Becca, that councillor that made the nonce comments should immediately be suspended and sacked. Nonces, I have 3 children. I love our flag and I spent 24 years protecting my kids from nonces. What an absolute joke. The man is a disgrace. Becca in Norfolk, thank you, Jez. I'm 57. Never voted in my life. Have zero respect for any MP. I don't trust one of them. I just packed up working. I'm not working 12 hours a day to fund the migrant champagne lifestyle. I'll live off my savings until I die, which hopefully won't be too long. This country is finished. Oh, Nick. Phil in Portsmouth. Hi, Jez. I have a Union Jack and a St George's cross hanging from my balcony. I'm going to report that Labour councillor for a hate crime. It's defamation of character. Jam. Oh, if the clowns in government, says Bruce, gave me a prepaid card with £2,000 on it, I could afford fish and chips too, like that fellow who wouldn't be asked to show up in court. Anything that Starmer does is not in my name. Great show. Jam sandwich for tea again. Bless you. Talk. Surely what he is... Oh, yeah, people's blood are boiling about that awful Jeremy Newmark. Jim in Glasgow. Jeremy, if Farage was Prime Minister, Trump would do all he could to help the UK. Craig Brown even. Does Mike Graham ever go home? No. David from Beaconsfield. If we complain to the police about the council, will they send a couple of armed officers around to have a chat? Great show. Hello to Fitz in Leicester. Regarding taxi to Scotland, we know it's definitely wrong, but the question I'd be asking is who authorised it? These are the people who need to be exposed, the ones who are wasting taxpayers' money. Loving the show. Thank you very much indeed. What? Sophie Jane, couldn't agree more with you on everything you say. Most of the country think the same. Our partner has to drive around 150 miles just to keep his plumbing and heating company afloat, let alone the toll charge and Blackwall Tunnel charge. It's ridiculous having to pay the penalty if you forget, but they are given a blank card with money. Why do I bother going to work? Why the hell don't I just begun to think that I should just not work and do everything? Jez, no. Can you and Mike come to Yorkshire with your show? Maybe. Right, it's at 3 minutes to 7. The main man, the legend. Why have you got a tie? Have you been to court?
I've been to lunch at a posh club.
Really? Are you drunk?
The RAF club.
Have you?
Yeah, you know I was in the Battle of Britain, don't you?
RAF?
The RAF club, yeah.
Well,
so Piccadilly, it's very nice.
Did you use a knife and fork?
Everything,
You
yeah.
behaved yourself.
I didn't even eat with my hands.
I've never seen you look so smart. Well done, Kev O'Sullivan is here.
I didn't drink straight from the bottle or anything
They've
like
gone
that,
absolutely mad about this. I mean, I'm sorry if I haven't read your message out, by the way, but extraordinary. All that money, you can. I mean, taxi drive, you know, an £800.
Taxis, it's absolutely ridiculous, and I also think it's ridiculous. What on earth? Credit to ITV News here. They got onto this deportation plane full of 47 Romanians. They were rapists, murderers, serious, dangerous criminals. We handed each one of them £2,000.
You know, somebody pointed out to me earlier.
Yeah.
Right.
What?
You can go back to your country with £2,000. You can come back for £1,500. It's £500 a trip, and we're paying for the seat.
Yeah, and you're quite right about the taxis as well. This is absolutely the insanity of the migrant crisis is off the scale. So of course we will be dwelling on that. We're also going to talk. We covered a story last night that really took off. There's a mega mosque being built in the Lake District, near the Lake District, a place called Dalton-in-Furness. The locals have been protesting about this. It's in the middle of nowhere, lovely, beautiful area. It's a massive building for 250 Muslim worshippers. The locals say, why are you doing